Gold makes the rules. AxeCap Ventures owns one of Nevada's largest undeveloped gold deposits and trades for pennies on the dollar. This could be your way to ride the gold boom. AxeCap trades under GARLF on the OTC. Visit axecapventures.ca today.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Planning a family vacation this summer? Well, the IRS may have other plans for you. Now, if you have received any IRS notice, do not ignore this. The IRS does have the authority to revoke your passport. Now, you need to call my friends at Rush Tax Resolution right now, 800-299-8077. And by the way, if you own a business and are behind on payroll taxes, do not call the IRS on your own. Why? They have the power to shut down your business and drain your bank account and come after you personally. No, get the pros. Get a Rush Tax Resolution attorney on your side and get protected today before it's too late. Mention my name, Sean Hannity, and Rush will do a free IRS transcript investigation. They'll only take your case if they know they can help you, period. That's 800-299-8077. That's 800-299-8077. On the web, it's rushtaxresolution.com.
Hey, AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story, and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At JeffBuysYourHouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices, only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Jenny McGuire is the fresh, bold, unapologetic voice of common sense, constitutional values, and conservative principles. With her sharp wit, she'll tackle the issues that matter most: faith, family, and freedom. Join her and featured guests each week on the Unsafe Space radio show, heard Saturday evening at 7 right here on AM 560 The Answer. And follow Jenny on Facebook at The Unsafe Space with Jenny McGuire.
An informed and educated citizenry is the only guarantee to preserve our constitutional republic. And each week, you'll hear from experts, not pundits, and find out what's really happening, from local issues to national politics. Listen to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. There's no topic of public policy concern that she won't talk about. Stop the lies. Learn the truth. Join the conversation. Sunday night at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
FestGen Wealth Partners knows you're feeling the pinch of rising costs of living, and you are not alone. Potentially maximize your savings and get the guidance you need through times of uncertainty with a team at FestGen Wealth Partners. Get started at GetRetiredStayRetired.com.
Advisory services offered through FestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and FestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. FestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. Almost everyone has seen the American Eagle jeans ad starring Hollywood starlet Sydney Sweeney. Many on the left have claimed the ad's play on the word jeans was a eugenics dog whistle because Sweeney is white, blonde, and blue-eyed. They insisted that opposing the ad was taking a stand against modern-day Nazism. It's nonsense. Those complaining most loudly about the ad are disproportionately likely to be found chanting, "From the river to the sea." What's more, since time immemorial, beautiful women have come in all colors, and everyone knows it. Here's what's really going on. The left is losing the power to impose its definition of what's beautiful and what's not on the rest of us. What that means is that the left is losing its control over the culture more generally. As a result, they're losing their minds. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
It's more than a backyard. It's a place where lazy afternoons turn into lively evenings, and simple moments become lifelong memories. Right at the center of it all, your deck. The stage for your best moments in everyday magic. But the outdoors can be tough on wood. Fading colors, weathered boards, and hidden damage creeping in. That's why homeowners across Chicagoland trust Deck Tech. For over 35 years, they've specialized in cleaning, restoring, and protecting decks, keeping them strong, stunning, and ready for every season. Deck Tech now offers 0% financing options for 21 months. Give that special someone the break they deserve with a Deck Tech gift card. Call 800-956-DECK today or visit restoreyourdeck.com. Deck Tech, helping Chicagoland homeowners enjoy the great outdoors for over 35 years. Enjoy your deck all season long with Deck Tech, the clean and seal professionals.
1-800-956-DECK. Call Deck Tech.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be hot with a mix of clouds and sun, possibly bringing a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high will reach 90. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with warm and humid conditions, along with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and baby boy Hunter, the smartest man that Joe Biden knows, has a new gig. And he enlisted his podcast buddy from a couple of weeks ago, the guy that platformed him to, basically go up and down the list of imbroglios that Hunter had enmeshed himself over the years and MF anybody who took shots at him or took shots at the old man, the big guy, as he is known by Hunter. But anyway, the new gig. Let's hear all about it.
Just started actually as a director of development for BASTA, which is the leading homeless prevention and tenants' rights group in southern Los Angeles.
Like you protect people from like eminent domain style evictions?
Well, from eviction, and we're the only group in at least Southern California that represents undocumented, and so we don't take any federal money. And by the way, it's not just El Salvadorian immigrants, it's, Ukrainian immigrants that, came in under duress from what's going on in Ukraine and find it really hard to find work because of the fear of employers that they're going to disrupt their business because of ICE raids and things like that. And then they lose their income. And almost all of these people are families and children. And if you can keep someone in their apartment or their home, you obviously also keeping somebody off the street in homelessness.
Yeah, not taking any federal money. We'll accept money from Ukrainian oligarchs, though, if there are any Ukrainian oligarchs listening. We'll accept cash from them. Chinese Communist Party officials, yes, we'll take money from those individuals as well. The Hunter Biden perspective, the organization called BASTA, in case you didn't get that, as in like enough, an eviction defense organization in L.A. Its co-founder is an attorney named Brian Sullivan, who represented baby boy Hunter in his failed defamation suits against Marco Polo and others. So he's back. Baby boy Hunter's back. Don't count him out. There are second acts in America. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And boy, what a better way to apply his Yale law acumen than in attempting to keep illegals that his father led into this country in this country. So and it's another wonderful sort of ham and egg example of these Bidens working together, this hillbilly crime family from Wilmington, Delaware. It's like you have dad's leverage or dad's influence as something that he can leverage. Dad gets the sinecures, like vice president, and Hunter leverages the sinecure. Dad lets in 10, 12, 15, 20 million people into this country illegally, and a baby boy Hunter picks it up right from there and is going to work to make sure that they are allowed to stay in this country by hook or by crook, at least in L.A., which, of course, is a friendly environment. And this is not the first time that Hunter has taken up the issue of migrants. He did a couple weeks ago. He had a message to anybody who takes a dim view to allowing people in this country illegally, to allow people in this country who are here illegally, and particularly who pose public safety threats, to stay. Pretty dim view of people who are critical of the big guy's policies.
for someone? Am I going to be like all these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration? You. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden? Who do you think is here by the sheer just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance? And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are the criminals?
If you're dizzied by that eloquence, you should check out his inscrutable blow art. I mean, really, next level. By the way, I believe, and this is according to Chuck Ross, reporting for Daily Caller, Hunter still owes about $300K in unpaid rent for a house in Malibu and millions more in legal bills, presumably maybe to his co-founder here at Basta, Brian Sullivan. But anywho, he's gainfully employed. He's doing the work that he loves. And if you don't like it, then F you, which is sort of his pat response to anybody who disagrees with him. Clay in Libertyville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning, Dan. You know, that's really great that Hunter Biden is doing this, teaching and, standing up for the rights about people with evictions. Do they also teach these people how to haggle crack prices with prostitutes like he did in that one video? Just asking for a friend. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call, Clay. Hunter did take up the crack issue, too. Not the haggling aspect of it, but the science. Hunter is nothing if not a man of science and data.
Does crack cocaine make you act any differently? No. Is it safer than alcohol? Probably. People think of crack as being dirty. It's the exact opposite. When you make crack, what you're doing is you're burning off all the impurities so that it combines with the sodium bicarbonate, which makes it smokable. That's all.
So the other thing he's doing is some reputation management for crack cocaine. It's gotten a bad rap. People don't understand the upsides of crack. Hunter is here to set the record straight, just as he is on immigration. And if you don't like it, then F you. George in Naperville.
Yes, all I have to say, Dan, is you're in good hands with Hunter.
Thanks for the call, George. I think Allstate would beg to differ. By the way, just in terms of the squatters issue, too, since you may be going up against Hunter Biden and that legal team over at Basta Inc., if you're a property owner in L.A., I thought this was a unique way. Now, I don't know if this works in an urban setting quite as well, but there were squatters in France on some farmland in France, and with like squatters like campers, and they wouldn't leave, and the local authorities wouldn't help the property owners to force them off their property. So what they did is they took got a bunch of manure spreaders out there and just sprayed this little village of squatters with manure, their RVs, their cars, just covered them in manure. Maybe that's one way to deal with people who are interlopers on other people's property. Just something else also, too, that Hunter Biden may want to look out for, maybe a potential client for Hunter over there in France. I mean, because, he is a global businessman. He is a global legal scholar, global energy expert. So I don't want to have him limit his talents when it comes to protecting squatters or people in a country illegally to just the United States. All right, coming up at 5:38, Holly, the woman who was beaten and sucker punched in that beatdown in Cincinnati a couple weekends ago, speaks for the first time. We'll hear what she had to say at 5:38, and we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The man accused of killing 2 Israeli embassy staffers in Washington, D.C. earlier this year has been indicted on murder and hate crime charges.
Elias Rodriguez allegedly shot and killed Yaron Liskinsky and Sarah Milgram outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in May. According to an indictment filed Wednesday, Rodriguez yelled "Free Palestine" while shooting the 2 victims. The U.S. Attorney for D.C., Janine Pirro, has said the death penalty could be on the table. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
President Trump is hopeful, but is not confirming an upcoming meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Speaking from the White House, Trump said his U.S. envoy had good talks with Putin this week and was asked if there was a breakthrough.
I don't call it a breakthrough. I mean, we've been working on this a long time. There are thousands of young people dying, mostly soldiers, but also, missiles being hit into Kiev and other places.
Trump then started to say there's a good chance we could be ending, then paused and added, ending the round, ending the road. Trump has grown increasingly frustrated with what he calls Putin's inaction toward any sort of ceasefire deal. He gave Russia until Friday to agree to a ceasefire, or he would place sanctions against them. I'm Mark Mayfield.
This report is sponsored by Audible. Stuck in traffic? Audible's romance collection will have you falling fast in the slow lane. Satisfy every side of you with best-selling modern rom-coms, the hottest romantasy series, and anticipated newest releases. Start listening free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
The biggest AM 560 event of the year is coming to Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove on Friday, August 22nd. It's Sean Fest 2025. Join hundreds of fellow AM 560 listeners for the summer's best party. Be a part of the on-location broadcast with Sean Thompson, followed by live music, photo opportunities, food and dessert trucks, and it's all free. Registration is requested at 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. Sponsored in part by Fox Valley Coins and by MyVirago.com.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donnelly Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donnelly Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonnellyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donnelly does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donnelly has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donnelly Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donnelly Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonnellyAuctions.com.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be hot with a mix of clouds and sun, possibly bringing a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high will reach 90. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with warm and humid conditions, along with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Holly has spoken. Holly is the middle-aged woman who was sucker punched and knocked out cold on the streets in Cincinnati the night of a jazz festival that turned ugly.
She is recovering, although she described at this press conference she attended yesterday some significant brain trauma she's suffering from. Bernie Moreno, the United States Senator, one of them from Ohio, has introduced Holly's Act, named after the woman you're about to hear from. The move is aimed, according to the senator, at ending what he calls the justice system's revolving door for repeat offenders. Well, that would be federal legislation because he's a federal legislator. So it would be interesting. They get into the details there about the potential impact on states that have institutionalized lawlessness and repeat violent offenses like Illinois, thanks to the Pritzker Purge law. But I digress. Let's hear from Holly. She took the posture of basically wanting to talk not about what happened to her specifically, but as what happened to her as emblematic of a problem in Cincinnati and society writ large. Take a listen.
First and foremost, I just want to say that I don't want to relive what happened to me, 8 or 9 days ago. I'm here to talk about the future and how we can change it, how we can prevent this from happening to anybody else. These heinous crimes have to stop. I never want this to happen to anyone else, especially a mother, a daughter, somebody who is loved. So I just know what it's done to my family, not just to me. And I think that moving forward, we do need more accountability. And I definitely think that, we need more police officers. But like he said, the judges who are just letting people out with a slap. The man who attacked me and might have permanently damaged me forever should never have been on the streets, ever. And the fact that he had just gotten out of jail previously for something he should have been in there for years, it's really sad to me because I can't even fathom how many other people who have been attacked by the same type of man over and over and over. In Toledo, in Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton, our streets are being taken over and nobody is doing anything. I am so sad. And I need to be the voice to help all of the victims that never got their justice. The biggest thing that I think really upsets me is the desensitization of humans, where there's a brutal attack, attempted murder in front of you, and they all think, oh, cool, let me get my phone and record it. I truly hope that in the future there's some sort of bill to where somebody has to be prosecuted or at least fined if they don't call 911 first to save someone's life. I have felt hopeless for the future of my children, what kind of world they're going to grow up in, because it has just gotten, worse and worse.
What do you think about what Holly had to say there? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. Yeah, I don't know about fining people for not calling 911. I don't know that we want to get into that. I appreciate the sentiment of people behaving as innocent bystanders when they could do something productive in an emergency situation. I certainly understand the sentiment. Criminalizing it is a whole different kettle of fish. The Holly's Act, by the way, that Bernie Moreno introduced or is poised to introduce, would raise the bar on minimum sentences and minimum bail requirements. That's his attempt to standardize some of these things nationally, at least so far as federal law is concerned. So where the states want to stand down if there's a colorable federal offense for which an individual can be charged, the feds come in and prosecute somebody for a state level offense that also rises to a federal level offense, then you could have federal sentencing and bail requirements attach, even if they don't attach in states like, Illinois or maybe Ohio, based on what we're hearing about Ohio these days. What Holly had to say about the individuals who attacked her, just to update the story, I think when last we got into this, there had been 3 arrested and charged with crimes related to the violence that occurred that night in Cincinnati. Now we're up to 6. And I don't have the rap sheet on all of them, but maybe this is the individual she was talking about. There is one guy who was arrested. Merriweather is his name. Not that that's material. And he does have a rap sheet. That's sort of it's something you would expect to hear discussed in Chicago of somebody who has been arrested multiple times, recently got out of jail. She mentioned those sorts of things, and is nonetheless back out, engaged in mayhem. In December of 2008, when he was just 17 years old, convicted of aggravated robbery. He'd also faced robbery, aggravated burglary, and kidnapping charges from the same incident, though those charges were dismissed. Since 2019, he's been charged with things like felonious assault, domestic violence, receiving stolen property, possessing weapons while on disability, and carrying weapons in a motor vehicle as a felon. He has 3 previous felony convictions, all of which were drug-related. So that's one of the 6 that we're up to. And I know earlier in the week we heard from the mayor and we heard from their version of Jesse Jackson, pastor there in Cincinnati, who I guess is notorious for preening before the cameras to race hustle. Wear the whites. I want to see all the mugshots. That's what he said. Because it was, a honky dude who instigated this whole thing, and somehow that justifies cold-cocking Holly. I don't know how that logic follows, but that's the argument that's been made. You've heard from city officials, too, essentially saying the same thing. You had the police chief try to downplay this, suggesting there were mitigating circumstances here, and the videos that everybody has seen don't represent the full context of what occurred and potentially don't capture all of the responsible parties for the violence that ensued. Well, all 6 of the individuals arrested and charged to this point are black. It's just a fact. So we're still waiting for that shoe to drop that some have intimated will drop, where it was just adults fighting, as one deputy mayor or vice mayor said in Cincinnati. It was just adults fighting. It doesn't seem like that's the case. Don't forget, 2 of the individuals of the 6 who've been charged in this mob action, in addition to the obvious aggravated assault charges, they've also been charged with coordinating the attack, like as in planning, as in premeditated. Phil in Maryville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning. Yeah, I've been saying this for probably at least a decade, and it's one of the reasons I even moved out of Chicago, but I still got to work in this hellhole over here. But the Democrats love criminals. They won't say it out loud, but it pushes all the conservatives, the independents out of the state, the cities, the suburbs, and all you're left with is criminals and brainwashed liberal Democrats, and they keep their power. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on something I reference often, which is the counterintuitive reality that the worse they make it, the better it gets for them. The more unlivable the city becomes, the better it is for them politically, because sensible people, productive people leave. So it actually increases their margin for error to platform the lawlessness and the ignorance and the barbarism that they do. You're right. That's exactly what we've seen played out in big cities, not just Chicago. Apparently, Cincinnati's in this category as well. Just in Chicago, just quickly mentioned yesterday in our conversation with retired police chief Riverside Police Chief Tom Weitzel, the 8-time felon who was released and then shot 2 women. Everybody deserves a 9th chance. I get it. anything to combat systemic racism. Just a few other headlines. Just this week, it's like talking about people in this country legally committing violent crimes. We could do dozens and dozens of stories on a daily basis. I guess that's all we can do is keep telling the stories, and maybe it will penetrate the consciousness of more people. Man gets 10 years for running over a Chicago cop after cutting off his ankle monitor. The discerning citizen might ask, well, why was somebody like that on an ankle monitor rather than in pretrial custody? Great question. 13 years for expressway murder committed while on bail for attempted murder case. The discerning citizen might say, why was somebody who was accused and charged with attempted murder out on bail? Yeah, right. Another category here, specifically to BLM Brandon, and specifically to BLM Brandon solo, although, the political power structure didn't really put up much of a fight here, did they? A few alderhumans. Not much, didn't hear much from Jelly Belly on this. South Shore teen shot in drive-by. Police response delayed 18 minutes by shot spotter removal. 16-year-old girl shot early Tuesday morning in South Shore. First responders didn't reach her for nearly 20 minutes because nobody called 911 about the gunfire, and because shot spotter was removed, a shot spotter in South Shore neighborhood that would have otherwise alerted police to gunfire. Love the criminals, have no use for the victims, even if they are part of their solidarity and marginality coalition, meaning minorities or LGBTQIA2S+++. Victims aren't mascots, criminals are. Because they represent those who have been driven by the white supremacist patriarchal system to do things they wouldn't otherwise ordinarily do because of white supremacy, which is where we need to maintain our focus. Yeah. Jerry in Hebron, Indiana.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. In reference to Holly's Act, I think something that needs to be addressed would be the Daniel Penny case. Why would a concerned citizen step up when they open themselves up to prosecution?
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Jerry. Yeah, it's one of the issues. There's no question. I think there's a larger cultural dynamic at play, sort of the atomization of society, that we don't behave like our brother's keeper, that we just, I paid at the office, I pay my taxes, and that's the job for police and other people, so I don't want to get my hands dirty. I think there's a lot of variables to it, but certainly a high-profile case where somebody was acting as their brother's keeper, as Daniel Penny was, and then to be put through what he was put through has a chilling effect, there's no question. Our friend Bob Woodson from the Woodson Center has a really good piece in the Journal on this. Very simple, very straightforward, because this is actually a fairly straightforward issue. If you could just push aside the race-based hysterics. Woodson writes, today's media seems to conflate over violence only when the perpetrator is white and the victim is black. Then the cameras roll, protests erupt, hashtags fly. But when the races are reversed, the mainstream media buries the incident or ignores it entirely. The same is true of black-on-black violence. I mean, this is a dynamic that's been at play for a long time, but it bears revisiting since it's happening again in Cincinnati. Woodson reminds us of another case. Consider the tragic case of Ariana Delaney. Does anybody know who she is? Remember? This is his point. She's the 4-year-old niece of George Floyd. She was shot and wounded, 4-year-old, while sleeping beside her grandma as gunfire hit at their apartment. Despite the horror of her story, it received nowhere near the national attention that followed her uncle's death. Both the girl and Floyd deserve to live in peace, yet there is, Floyd deserved to live in peace, but that requires that you act in a way that indicates you want to live in peace, but I digress. Anyway, both the girl and Floyd deserve to live in peace, yet there's a national Yet there is national outrage when a black man is killed at the hands of police, but silence when black children are the collateral victims of the senseless violence plaguing our cities every day. Of course, we know this all too well in Chicago. We teach our children to be black, that to be black is to be permanently victimized and that to be white is to be perpetually guilty. Americans should renounce any schema in which one race is guilty and another innocent. That is the path to national ruin. And the good news is most of the country is not on that path. The bad news is big population centers, big urban population centers, particularly in blue states, but even in red states, are not on that path. They are on the path to national ruin. They are not on the path to racial comity. And of course, it's such an easy path to be on because the incidence of systemic or institutional racism are negligible. It's just not a thing. I don't care what the 6019 Project has to say. It used to be a thing. Yes, I recognize history. Not a thing today. And to that point, I go back to my friend Bob Woodson. The income gap between blacks and whites is far narrower than between low and upper income blacks. Let me repeat. The income gap between blacks and whites is far narrower than between low and upper income blacks. There are more than 1.7 million black millionaires in the United States and a record number of blacks with college degrees. If injustice and systemic racism are keeping blacks down, why are so many blacks succeeding? There's a question you won't get a particularly compelling answer to from the professional race hustling set. Bill in LaSalle County.
Hi, Dan. The Democrats love to talk about we've got to find the root cause. Well, the root cause is the collapse of, obviously, the family, the collapse of the manufacturing job bases in most of these blue cities and blue states. And another example of that would be yesterday's announcement from the White House with Apple's Tim Cook. He's investing $100 billion in the United States for if you want to call it Gorilla Glass manufacturing. And it's not in Illinois. It's going to be in the bluegrass state of Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the call, Bill. Bob Woodson's words again. He has some bona fides on these issues as someone who dates back to the civil rights movement. Quote, we teach our children that to be black is to be permanently victimized and that to be white is to be perpetually guilty. America should renounce any schema in which one race is guilty and another innocent. That is the path to national ruin.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At almostfreeteeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at almostfreeteeth.com.
When it comes to industrial coating and finishing, cutting corners isn't an option. That's why leading manufacturers across the Midwest trust D&D Industrial Coatings in Racine, Wisconsin. From powder coating and liquid painting to blasting and custom finishing, D&D Industrial delivers top-tier protection and performance, fast, precise, and built to last. With over 40 years of experience, ISO-certified processes, and state-of-the-art lines, D&D handles everything from OEMs and petrochemical to agriculture, marine, construction, medical, and government specs. Family-owned, nationally trusted. Whether it's a short run or high volume, your parts are in expert hands, finished on time and finished right. Visit them today, ddindustrial.net. Again, that's ddindustrial.net. Or call them at 262-637-0686 to get your custom quote today. Again, that's 262-637-0686. D&D Industrial Coatings. Engineered to protect. Finished to impress.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Coming up at 6:06, the latest in the running saga over those flea-bagging Texas State House Democrats. We've got more action from the governor there. We've got more rambling from Jasmine Crockett. Where does this go? And by the way, who is underwriting where this has already gone? That's at 6:06. It is now 6 a.m., AM 560, WIND, Chicago.
We're going to be a very rich country. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what President Trump insists, and he posted on Truth Social at midnight when new tariffs on a lot more imports went into effect.
Billions of dollars in tariffs are now flowing into the United States of America. And the president says this is just the beginning.
That's Fox's Lucas Tomlinson.
The tariffs will be between 10 and 41% applied to nearly 70 countries.
Now, the president also threatened yet another tariff is coming for high-tech manufacturers.
We'll be putting a tariff on of approximately 100% on chips and semiconductors. But if you're building in the United States of America, there's no charge, even though you're building.
He said that with Apple's CEO by his side, as the company announced it'll invest even more in the U.S., manufacturing more iPhone components here. The president will also double the tariff on imports from India as punishment for buying Russian oil. Tomorrow's the deadline, he said, for Russia to stop the war in Ukraine or face new economic sanctions. Reports out of Moscow this morning suggest that he and leader Vladimir Putin have agreed to a meeting.
Fox News has learned that President Trump only wants to meet with Putin if it's tied to a peace deal. Now, for his part, the Russian leader is urging caution, saying all disappointments arise from what he calls excessive expectations.
That's Fox's Kevin Corke. A U.S. Army sergeant's in custody awaiting charges the morning after he's accused of shooting 5 soldiers at Fort Stewart in Georgia.
Thankfully, all are in stable condition and all are expected to recover.
Brigadier General John Lubis says they believe Cornelius Radford used a personal handgun. Others tackled him, stopping the shooting spree. It's been a tough 12 hours flying United Airlines.
I had to call my company, let them know I'm not going to be able to make it in on time tomorrow. Now they got to rebook my car, rental.
He and a lot of other passengers got stuck in Houston and other airports after a technical glitch last night canceled or delayed more than 1,200 flights. United is flying again, but there are several hundred more cancellations and delays today. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A technical issue is blamed for United Airlines grounding all of its flights headed to Chicago and several other major hubs. The Chicago-based airline issued the ground stop last night after a system error caused an outage that disrupted flights across the country. The airline says the underlying issues have been fixed and flights have resumed. Authorities are investigating a bomb threat at a St. Charles hotel where Texas Democrats are staying. Police say hundreds of people were evacuated yesterday from the Q Center following the bomb threat. No explosive devices were found. Texas lawmakers fled to Illinois to stop Republicans from voting to redraw the map that would give them 5 more pickup opportunities ahead of the 2026 midterms. A Chicago man who is charged with shooting and killing 2 Israeli embassy staff members in Washington, D.C. in May is now facing hate crime charges. A grand jury indicted Elias Rodriguez yesterday on additional counts of hate crime charges resulting in death. Rodriguez was originally charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, murder of foreign officials with 2 firearm-related charges. The May 21st shooting happened outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum as both victims were leaving an event. News is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave for that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt believes we should have seen a rate drop.
Interest rates remained fixed despite the fact that the gross domestic product grew by 3%. The American economy is thriving The Trump economy is just beginning to take off, and it's not like inflation is roaring along. There were 2.4% the last report that we got. It's sort of crazy not to do it.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Hey AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story, and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At JeffBuysYourHouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 9 minutes. Outbound, about 17 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, about 12 minutes. Outbound is about 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 16 minutes. Outbound is about 16 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 16 minutes. Outbound, 10 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of clouds and sun, possibly bringing a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high will reach 90. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with warm and humid conditions, along with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. It is sad but telling commentary when a insufferable prig like Stephen Colbert and MSNBC, of all outlets, does a more honest job of challenging the shameless lying and rank hypocrisy of politicians like Jelly Belly Pritzker and the congressional delegation in Illinois. actually. And the Democrat Socialist Party, the Neo-Marxist Party nationally to boot. Does a better job. Is Jelly Belly being pressed by the Chicago political press corps, such as it is, or whatever constitutes the State House press corps these days, about his support for independent commission on drawing legislative districts before he signed one of the most gerrymandered maps in American history and certainly in Illinois history, and then and then started carrying on, as he has been carrying on all week, about the proposed legislative district map in Texas. What about the congressional humans in the Illinois delegation who are the beneficiaries of the gerrymandered map here? Have they been challenged? Has anybody asked Sean Casten or Raja or, well, I mean, I don't want to go through all 14 of them, but you get the picture. Delia Ramirez, the proud Guatemalan, before she is an American. But he was challenged by Colbert a little bit. Colbert challenged it just to, I guess, maintain some sense of whatever constitutes personal integrity for him, be able to at least peek at himself in the mirror. This was that exchange on his show the other night that we talked about a bit yesterday.
Easy districts in Illinois. Take a look at this. Look at 17 here. It does that. Then it comes up here and it sneaks around there and goes all the way up here and then goes right over there like that. And look at this one, kind of goes whoop up there. It's like the stinger on a scorpion down here. Is this common for all states to do?
Well, we handed it over to a kindergarten class and let them decide.
Okay, and that's the nonpartisan group that does this
Absolutely.
for you guys?
That's our independent commission, you know. That is, yeah. I mean, look.
So because all states, to a certain extent, do this, why is what Texas doing particularly egregious in this case?
Well, here, every 10 years we do a census in this country, and right after the census, we redraw districts in every state. But what the Republicans are trying to do, and the Texas Republicans, frankly, at the behest of Donald Trump, are doing it mid-decade. That is extraordinarily rare.
That's an important point, because I think he literally called them or wrote them and said, hey, I need 5 seats.
Hilarious. We had a kindergarten class draw the map, and then he's allowed to sort of sidestep it and turn his attention back to demagoguing Texas Republicans because they're taking advantage of a 2019 Supreme Court decision that allows for such redistricting to occur. Rare or not, it is allowed for. In fact, it was John Roberts who said in that case, federal judges have no license to reallocate political power between the two major political parties. The fact that gerrymandering is, quote unquote, incompatible with democratic principles does not mean that the solution lies with the federal judiciary. So it's street legal. And as many have observed, Texas Republicans are playing by the rules of the game as set forth, using power they have in a way that Democrats have in places like Illinois for generations. It's a classic case of we're only supposed to use our power against you. You're not supposed to act in kind. And that's not Greg Abbott's position, is it? But it does tell you something about what is required. And there's such an opportunity. You know, Jelly Belly running for his third term for governor. There is fatigue even in a Stockholm syndrome-addled state like Illinois, or really Chicagoland is the problem, generally. There are pockets around the state that are similarly addled, but from the 30,000-foot view, it's Chicagoland, as everybody knows. And really the suburbs, more than the city. city's sort of built in. It's the deterioration of the suburbs that has caused this state to be the worst governed state in the history of the country. But third term, there's natural fatigue. This is not somebody who is wildly popular to begin with for all sorts of what should be obvious reasons. In addition to that, you have him so blatantly running as just sort of a side hustle to what he's really running for, which is, of course, the nomination of his new Marxist party for president in 2028. I mean, is indifferent, frankly, to the plight of the state, and it shows. I mean, there's a lot there that if people did sort of take stake here and work to do what the Chicago and Springfield press corps are, again, indicating they're not going to do, could produce some surprising results. I'm not saying it's not uphill. I'm not saying it's not underdog races. They are. It is. And these are underdog races. I'm talking about for Congress, for the open Senate seat, for governor. But I mean, I think this stuff, it's one thing. It's not the thing. But this stuff has some resonance. It just requires the repetition, the pounding away at the false foundations of everything that Jelly Belly and his minions in Springfield have done to this state over the last decade. There's opportunity there. And that performance on Colbert is more opportunity to hold him up for ridicule. He is a risable figure. And when you move into the category of being a punchline as a politician, you move into a dangerous spot in terms of your electoral future. Opportunity here. Now, the flip side, well, actually sort of consistent with this, as I mentioned, so Colbert gently pushing Pritzker on the hypocrisy question. MSNBC raised the issue, too, and put it to the DNC chairhuman Ken Martin, who is in town to do that presser with Pritzker and Texas Democrats, both at the state and federal levels. The sudden distaste for gerrymandering, DNC chairhuman Martin.
Look at Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker providing logistical support for their efforts, or even the fact that you have DNC Chair Ken Martin here supporting them and speaking with them. They're getting that help, but I talked to the chair about the awkward or at least unusual position this puts Democrats in, a party that, you know, if you listen to them last year, they were fighting against gerrymandering, they were fighting against redistricting, and now they're saying this is the tool that blue states should embrace in order to fight back against Texas. Listen to his response to that point.
We can't be the only ones expected to play by the rules anymore. They are trampling our Constitution. They are actually going after voting rights in this country. And what this requires right now is us. The rules have already been broken. Now it's gloves off. They decided to break the rules. Well, we're going to respond in kind.
As I said yesterday, go ahead. Use whatever power you think you have. Make whatever case you think you can make. And we'll do the same. How's that? Yeah, the difference is, at least with Texas and some other states, Florida, actually the states that are ascendant, both in terms of population and in-migration and business location and expansion, states that are successful. In part, they're successful because they have leadership that says to Ken Martin or Jelly Belly or Patrick Bateman there in California, go ahead, bring it. Do what you think you can do. And I'll do what I know we can do, and we'll see how it shakes out. In places like Illinois, that sort of finger wagging has gotten weak-kneed Republicans to relent, to bend the knee, to walk away. That's the difference. It's really not that complicated. And so go ahead, with the specter of all of the implications. Go ahead with the boogeymanning that you're so adroit at, or at least you think you are. Seems to have less and less currency. Seems to be losing currency almost at the same pace as charges of racism are losing currency. But you go ahead. You go ahead, Jasmine Crockett, and call Trump a wannabe Hitler. You go ahead, Eric Holder, and give a look ahead. This isn't just about a Texas issue. We have to galvanize the whole country. So here's what's going to happen. They're going to stack Congress with a bunch of illegitimate members of Congress, like they stacked the court with a bunch of illegitimate justices. And then they're going to tear asunder our democracy and tear apart the Constitution, imperil your rights as so enshrined in those documents. That's what they're doing. That's what they're left with. These sorts of hysterics.
So they are twisting themselves into a pretzel to appease this wannabe Hitler that we have in the White House. But I think he's actually creating a bigger problem. I think people now, first of all, understand what gerrymandering looks like and why it's so problematic. I think people are finally waking up to the fact that Texas is a majority minority state. So when we say that it's not really a red state, but we just are a voter suppressed, voter apathy, and underinvested state, people now are starting to understand that, especially when the only way that he could get these seats was by depressing the voices of black and brown people in this majority minority state. So I think this is going to backfire in a historic way. I am really excited.
Would you support a national ban on gerrymandering?
I would.
So if it came up, you'd vote for that?
I would absolutely support a national ban on gerrymandering.
For now. And then if that doesn't serve my interest tomorrow, then I won't support it. We just saw that two-step from J.B. Pritzker within the last couple of years of his time in office. Yeah, of course I would support a national ban. I'll say whatever I need to say now, and I'll do a 180 whenever I need to do a 180 in advance of my interests. Don't care. Wannabe Hitler. By the way, the wannabe Hitler, you'll note, Klingon Collins there over at CNN, who was interviewing fake eyelashes Spice, their social Spice Girls. No pushback. Wannabe Hitler. It just, flows and dissipates into the ether. Completely desensitized to these sorts of accusations. On the one hand, because they're so silly and just don't land how Jasmine Crockett thinks they land. And on the other hand, probably because Klingon Collins is hoping they do, as a CNN. Eric Holder, playing with fire here.
This is not a Texas problem. Yeah, the focus of this issue is Texas, but this is a national problem. And you got to understand, if somehow, some way, Republicans are able to hold on to the House in next year, and in spite of the fact that I think they should lose because of the big budget bill that took health care away from millions of people, that gave tax breaks to billionaires who didn't need it. If they were somehow able to hold on to the House in 2026, that is the House of Representatives that would have to certify who won the presidential election come 2028, 2029. Now, if you want to play with fire, and that's what we're doing here, you put in a bunch of partisan hacks who are not supposed to be in the House, who are there because of gerrymandering and a whole range of other things that Republicans are doing, and then put at risk the possibility that that body would not certify who the next president was. That's why this is a national problem. This is not something only the Texans ought to be concerned about.
Oh, of course, yeah. Again, one of the great champions of our democracy, Eric Holder, Mr. Fast and Furious. Mr. Spying on members of the press. Right. Very worried about this. J6 Redux. J6 coming around the corner. A partisan hacks in Congress from gerrymandered districts. Well, gosh, Mr. Attorney General, it sounds to me like we're going to have to clean out 90% of the members of the House of Representatives. If that's the standard. Partisan hacks from gerrymandered districts. Why are there so few competitive congressional races around the country every cycle? A small percentage, single digits that are truly competitive. Because of partisan hacks in gerrymandered districts, both sides. Democrats way ahead of the game on this, but Republicans are catching up. So when Jasmine Crockett talks about the American people are starting to wake up to the gerrymandering and this notion, which she didn't say it this way, but it's the handle on this, right, is politicians picking their voters rather than voters picking their politicians. First of all, people paying attention have known this for a long time. Secondly, people just paying attention now, they may get the gist of it, but the gist of it is both sides do it. I think it's probably distasteful, but the fact that they're using whatever is available to them to act in their self-interest to amass more political power is hardly shocking to me because I know that's what politicians do as a matter of course. So, yeah, this is going to inflame the passions or flip a state, flip Texas. Not only did Trump win by 14 points, that's not even the point. He won a majority of the Latino vote in that majority-minority state that Jasmine Crockett is referencing. And additionally, it's a successful state, which is why at the state level, Greg Abbott keeps getting reelected. People enjoy it. And people in other states are moving there so they can enjoy it. And people with businesses in other states are moving their businesses there so they can flourish. And those aspects of the political landscape matter, too. Not to Jasmine Crockett, not to Eric Holder, but they do. How actual three-dimensional human beings think and behave. I mentioned, too, the underwriting of all this. You know, Greg Abbott raised the specter of perhaps felony bribery if there was a monetary inducement to abrogate your oath and flee the state. Molly Hemingway made the point, too, on these underlying issues.
The real underlying issue with this whole battle over gerrymandering is that Democrats have perfected the art of gerrymandering, and they've pretty much squeezed all of the juice out of the fruit that they can get from it. Anytime they control a state, they just get all of the congressional districts that they can. Whereas Republicans have been very late to play this game. They've done it in a few states, but they're now finally playing with the game. But there's more that can be done here. I mean, this abandoning the state because you don't like how democracy is going to turn out is a very serious problem. And I'm thinking back to when in the LA riots that they started to fight enforcement of the border, the feds started looking into who was funding those riots, and all of a sudden they kind of petered out. Similarly, who is funding this escape from Texas, this abandoning of Texas? It takes money to live in a different state, to go to the other state. Who did that? Maybe there should be some investigation into who is actually funding this ability of Democrats to abandon the legislature and harm the governing of Texas.
Well, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is doing just that. One target is Bobby O'Rourke. Remember Beto? Bobby O, that rising star in the New Marxist Party, the next RFK Jr. Lost a congressional race before he lost the Senate race. He's got a PAC, and the reporting suggests that he has provided through his PAC some of the financing for the flight and maybe for the residents out of state by these Texas State House Democrats, his Powered by People PAC, bankrolling the Texas House Democrats. But I completely agree with Molly, state level and federal level, as is appropriate. The question about Pritzker and whether or not he's provided any financing for flights, for lodging, anything else. Yeah, that should be looked into. Meanwhile, Ken Paxton is also seeking judicial orders declaring that these flea-bagging State House Democrats be declared to have vacated their office. You have John Cornyn, Senator Cornyn from Texas, who's asked the FBI to get involved here. You have Greg Abbott, the governor, filing suit to those same ends of declaring that these individuals have engaged in a dereliction of duty, effectively vacating their seats, and they can be replaced. So, this is a street fight. The difference between here and there is Texas has some street fighting Republicans. Turns out to be a big difference. And, rank and file, too, that were ready and willing to participate. Text from Dave in Geneva, 630. It really boils down to one simple thing. People who want to change getting off their asses and going out and voting. The non-voter is what's been costing us year after year after year. He's talking about Illinois, and he's not wrong.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
When you bundle renters and auto with Progressive, you can save while protecting your most valuable possessions, like your really expensive limited edition sneakers and your new suit for your cousin's wedding. Except you never actually bought the suit because you can't stop buying sneakers. So you show up to the wedding looking like you're going grocery shopping. But hey, at least your sneakers will look good in the pictures, until you're cropped out of every last one of them. So go ahead and get Progressive, so you can save while protecting the things that matter to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just a couple of good texts from Northfield Township Republicans on the whole gerrymandering issues. Just to bring it home, you can look at the maps, but it's sort of fun to listen to the implications of what you're seeing on the state map. The 4th Congressional District grabs Oak Brook and the eastern edge of Elmhurst. That was drawn for Chuy Garcia. The 11th, which captures Naperville and Aurora, but also Belvedere, Woodstock, and Volo. The 14th, which captures southwestern DuPage, but is an exurban district which covers DeKalb and LaSalle, Peru. The 3rd, which snakes through West Chicago and Elmhurst, but also goes into the north side to Humboldt Park. The 6th, which cuts through the heart of DuPage, but also goes in the southwest suburbs, Orland and Tinley Park, and then snakes to the southwest side, grabbing Beverly and the area around Midway. The 8th, which cuts through Wooddale, Itasca, and Carroll Stream, wraps around O'Hare to grab some of the 42nd Ward, then goes north to Rand Road in Lake County and west to the outskirts of Huntley. Are those the districts that you're talking about as having been stolen by politicians, and not just the people of Illinois, but the country, the same way that Jelly Belly described what Texas is doing as stealing districts from the people of Texas and America writ large? Good to keep the pressure on here. This is a bad issue for them. A Coming up at 6:36. Speaking of one of those congresswomen, I did want to get to Delia Ramirez, the proud Guatemalan before she is American, member of Congress from the 3rd. She is responding to those who have called for her to step down, to lose her citizenship. She has a detailed response that we'll pour over at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump's sweeping tariffs are now in effect. Import taxes will reach levels not seen in the country in almost 100 years, with over 60 countries in the European Union facing rates of 15% or more. A wide variety of products will be hit, ranging from appliances, cars, food, and furniture. United Airlines has resumed flights after resolving a tech issue that led to a ground stop for all of its flights headed to Chicago and several other major hubs Wednesday evening. The airline confirmed a system error caused an outage that disrupted flights across the country. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said that he had been briefed on the matter. UCLA says the Trump administration has suspended $584 million in grants from the school.
The chancellor of the school says that's nearly double the amount that was previously expected. UCLA is the first public university to have federal grants frozen over allegations of civil rights violations related to anti-Semitism. Trump has withheld federal funding over similar allegations against several Ivy League colleges. UCLA just reached a $6 million settlement with 3 Jewish students and a Jewish professor for allegedly allowing pro-Palestinian protesters in 2024 to block their access to the campus. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees some rough numbers for the Dems.
The Wall Street Journal's latest score shows the Democrats with just a 33% approval rating versus 63% who disapprove. That's the lowest score the Dems have received in the 35-year history of the Journal's polling. President Trump and the Republican Party are viewed far, far more favorably in the same data.
The all-new Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is an urgent message for investors over the age of 50. Silver is on the verge of making history. This is an opportunity you can't miss. We're Advantage Gold, the #1 rated precious metals company in America, and we've helped thousands of investors move their IRA, 401k, or retirement account into physical gold and silver safely and securely. Call 800-900-8000 now and get our free 2025 Silver Investor Report and learn why now could be the best time to own physical silver. In this eye-opening guide, we reveal why silver is surging and could make new all-time highs, how to protect your retirement from inflation and market chaos, and the little-known IRS loophole that lets you own gold, silver, and even platinum, 100% tax and penalty-free. Plus, you'll learn how to get up to $10,000 in free silver with a qualifying purchase. But don't wait for this opportunity to pass you by. Call us now and learn how to own physical silver today the smart way. Call 800-900-8000 now. That's 800-900-8000. Or visit us at AdvantageGold.com. Past performance may vary. Consult your financial or tax advisor. Call us at 800-900-8000.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
From the Team Hogberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 9 minutes. Outbound, about 17 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, about 12 minutes. Outbound is about 14 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 16 minutes. Outbound is about 16 minutes. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Need better sleep on Labor Day weekend? Upgrade to premium sleep at Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Let their sleep experts match you with the perfect bed and get the rest you deserve. They make sleep easy. Shop Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of clouds and sun, possibly bringing a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high will reach 90. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with warm and humid conditions, along with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Congresswoman, Delia Ramirez, she's a socialist. 3rd Congressional District. Formerly held by the likes of the Lipinskis. Delia Ramirez was at the Pan American Summit, 2nd annual in Mexico City. Spoke about this a bit earlier in the week. Well, I guess Ramirez's district is mainly Luis Gutierrez's, El Gallito's old district. But, it's been gerrymandered. Heavens to Betsy, it's been gerrymandered. It always was gerrymandered. Little Louis's old district used to be held up as what the worst excesses of gerrymandering look like in the country, but that's all forgotten now. Anyway, so she's down at that Pan American Summit in Mexico with her socialist gal pals, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, one of those junkets that socialists go on to extol the virtues of the developing world and defecate on America. I mean, they behave like members of the Chicago Teachers Union or the Chicago Public School Board going down to Venezuela to marvel at the wonders of the Caracan government school system. Probably is better than Chicago's, actually. So she's down there, Delia Ramirez, to, as I said, run down America, because that's what they do, at home and abroad. And she said this, which got people's attention.
Quiero terminar diciendo unas palabras en español porque yo soy guatemalteca con mucho orgullo, primero que soy americana.
Press 1 for English. Okay. I am a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American. I'm a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American. And this has drawn a response, on social media, a jarring statement for a sitting member of Congress to make. Well, Delia Ramirez has an answer for those who have been critical of her. Can you guess what it is? You're racist. Let's call it what it is. The attacks are a weak attempt to silence my dissent and invalidate my patriotic criticism of the nativist, white supremacist authoritarians in government. It is the definition of hypocrisy that members of Congress who betray their oath each day they enable Trump are attacking me for celebrating my Guatemalan American roots. No one questions when my white colleagues identify as Irish American, Italian American, or Ukrainian American to honor their ancestry. I've consistently expressed my pride in my heritage and history, a pride that a pride also often reflected in the origin stories of my colleagues. Only those who believe America should not include the children of immigrants or be diverse would attack me, and Americans like me, for honoring my roots. Honoring my Guatemalan ancestry only strengthens my commitment to America. That is the truth I carry with me always. And it is the truth that many Americans carry with them. We are the living and breathing realization of the idea of America, a place where a multicultural, multiracial democracy can prosper. I am the daughter of immigrants and the daughter of America. I am both Chapina and American. I am both from Guatemala and Chicago, Illinois. Anyone who denies our claim on this country simply because we dare to honor our diverse heritage and immigrant roots only exposes how fragile and small-minded their own idea of America really is. Are you properly chastened? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. Would you like to respond to Delia Ramirez's response, or should we just move on? She's properly chided us for being small-minded. We clearly misunderstood what she was conveying. She is a daughter of America, as well as a daughter of immigrants. That's a great thing. I don't want to be called a nativist or someone opposed to our multicultural, multiracial democracy. I don't want to be accused of siding with authoritarians who betray the idea of America each day. I don't want to be labeled as someone who is opposed to Delia Ramirez, quote, celebrating my Guatemalan American roots, unquote. This will be probably a small thing, and it'll go away. Won't have staying power very long. But it's an opportunity that's missed for Republicans. It's so much more about this line of argumentation than it is about Delia Ramirez making it. I mean, it's not like she has the capacity for original thinking. I could have wrote this statement from her for her, and I would have been close in terms of what I thought she would say in response to the criticism. I would have been very close. I may have used different examples, but I would have been right over the target. Because we've heard it all before. And we keep hearing it. And we keep hearing it because, as far as they can tell, it's working. This identitarian moral indignation. I haven't seen anybody lose their seat over it. Which is why it should be addressed. I mean, if there was an organized political party, if there was an organized center-right movement in Chicagoland, this is a prime opening to get right to the heart of the identitarian flimflammery. And because she's a member of Congress, maybe it'll happen at the federal level, but I doubt it. No, she didn't exactly apologize. No, she didn't. She certainly didn't apologize. She said, if you criticize what I said, then you're a racist and a nativist, and you're what's wrong with America. No one questions my white colleagues identify as Irish Americans, Italian American, or Ukrainian. No one, I mean, I don't like the hyphenated business, but no one questions you identifying as a Guatemalan American either. Of course, that's not what you said. No one criticized you for being a legal immigrant to this country and gaining your citizenship. Of course, that's not what you said. I mean, that's not the crux of it, right? So all of these straw man arguments that they erect to cover for what they actually say, and they meant what they said. It's a very simple statement. She didn't misspeak. She wasn't taken out of context. I am Guatemalan before I'm American. But by the way, I'm a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American. Not I'm a proud Guatemalan before I'm a proud American. No proud when it comes to American. Only proud when it comes to Guatemala. And that's the lead. And we see this playing out in really in stark terms in places like Mogadishu, Minnesota right now. Ilhan Omar opened the door, and Omar Fatah and others are walking through it, where in their own words at rallies, what we're doing for the Somalis in Minnesota, because we're Somalis first, our country first. And when they say our country first, they're not talking about America. I'm so tired of people who are unwilling to, particularly who know better, unwilling to address this sophistry and stuff it right back down the throat of Delia Ramirez and everybody else. It's not going that way. You're not getting away with it. You want to hear some moral indignation? There should be rallies, Latinos across the board, Americans. You want to see what we should see is a multiracial, multicultural coalition, one of their favorite throwaway phrases, outside of Delia Ramirez's office protesting, calling into Delia Ramirez, telling her she does not represent. I'm an immigrant, I'm a second generation or a third generation. Spare me your cross of gold bull jive. Like you're the only daughter of a foreign country and who became an American citizen. You're some spokesmodel for immigrants far and wide. No, you're not. You're an embarrassment to both your home country as well as your current country. Because I guess that's how you would refer to it. Your current country. Your home country is Guatemalan, where you're proud to be from. You're not proud to be a congresswoman from America. At least that's not what you said. Or that's what you failed to say. When you do a comparative in a sentence like that, I'm proud Guatemalan, also an American. It's saying something. It's unmistakable. All of this wrapping yourself in the immigrant flag is so tiresome, dishonest. You are not representing the interests of immigrant populations from wherever, including where you're from, any better than these race-hustling black politicians are representing the majority black neighborhoods in Chicago, the south side, the west side. You represent Guatemalan Americans about as well as Brandon Johnson represents black Americans, Delia Ramirez. You can't let people get away with this time and again and just focus on one bad example, the easiest target, because there's almost unanimity about this individual I just mentioned him, Brandon Johnson. But everybody else gets a pass. Because we're just going to focus on where it's so bad. He's so bad. He's this, he's that. What Brandon Johnson says and what Delia Ramirez says is the same thing. What J.B. Pritzker says and what Brandon Johnson said, same thing. Sean Casten, same thing. Lauren Underwood, same thing. Raja Krishnamoorthy, same thing. But we're going to expend all of our efforts on Brandon Johnson because it's easy. The response needs to come on all fronts, just as their responses do. They're circling of the wagons. They're trying to come over the top of people who behave in good faith and know a race hustle when they see it. Well, you better say something. See a race hustle? Say something about the race hustle. See a hustle about immigration policy and border security? Then say something about it. What, are you going to wait for the Chicago Press Corps to challenge these people about it? Any more than they're going to challenge Jelly Belly about his hypocrisy when it comes to gerrymandering? Or any of these other congresswomen who are the beneficiaries of gerrymandering, which we were just talking about. The point that was made by Dave from Geneva, texted earlier on. I mean, honestly, it's redundant. I've said it so many times. I don't know why to say it again, other than it's the only way. As long as you're here, why not put in the fight? It's so easy to do in a material way. You don't have to run for office. You don't have to write a check. But you can take out after Delio Ramirez and challenge anybody who's folding in with her within your circles of influence. Yeah. Make a cogent argument in response. Deconstruct this identitarian nonsense that is endless in this region, Chicagoland. Rather than just, forwarding on the latest rant from Brandon Johnson and giggling about it. What an idiot. That's not accomplishing much. Ken in Plainfield.
Yeah, pretty much going to be an amen choir here because after I called, you said what I was going to say. I thought, I'm not sure because I don't care much about her, if she became an American citizen, you swear an oath to the United States, and you're supposed to reject your past country. So, again, I'm not sure if she was born here or emigrated here. Either way, you're supposed to be loyal to your country. And her saying that all the white people say, I'm a proud Irish, German, or whatever, they say that about their heritage, not that Ireland or Germany come first. So, as you said, she's full of crap.
Thanks for the call, Ken. People should be traipsing. I mean, again, if there was an organized effort, or it doesn't take much, actually. People should be traipsing through Glen Ellen and Hinsdale and Naperville, knocking on doors. See what Delio Ramirez said? See what Jelly Belly said? I'm looking here at your voting record. I see that you vote in Democrat primaries. Really? You're sticking with that? You agree with this? May make for some uncomfortable moments in the neighborhood or at somebody's door, but so what? Why can't you do that just like a politician goes to the neighborhood knocking on doors or calling or texting, telling some lie about why you should vote for them? Why don't you tell the truth about why you shouldn't? Tony in Downers Grove.
Well, Jeannie Ives is saying it, and more people need to say it more often, and some do. But assimilation is not a dirty word, and this is the
correct
problem with the we are multicultural. Well, we are. My heritage is mostly Italian. I don't run around with an Italian flag on my car every day of the week. My grandparents assimilated. They speak the language, but somehow you're a nationalist if you believe that. And that's what needs to be called out. And more Republicans need to do it. Dan, I'll go knock on doors, but I don't know if I'm going to hear anything different than what she said.
Yeah, well, thanks for the call, Tony. I appreciate that. And, it starts with one in one neighborhood, but it certainly mix things up. And may, and courage, like cowardice, is contagious. Maybe get some other people to do the same. It could be kind of fun, especially if you do it in a little bit of a group, and then, you go for a nice bottle of Sauvignon Blanc afterwards and share stories. Make it fun. It doesn't all have to be drudgery. It'd be fun to challenge people and put them on the spot. I mean, the courage outs the cowardice. You really don't know, do you? You really don't know anything. Do you know what your property taxes are? I mean, it just opens up this whole conversation about everything the left doesn't know or thinks they know, which turns out to be that they know, that turns out to be false. I don't know. You can't let people just exist within their bubble, at least not when you're in the minority trying to awaken a silent majority. If nothing else, you'll find out whether there is really a silent majority or not. So it'd be a useful exercise for a political party to do. I'm not putting this on AM 560 listeners solely, but I mean, those who are motivated and informed have more opportunity than those who are not. to drive a conversation to change an outcome, it's always the committed few. It's never going to be this sort of 13 million people moving en masse. Quickly, Larry and Mantino.
Yes, hi, Dan. I was just calling to comment. I totally believe that's a complete race-based, what she's trying to pronounce. My grandparents came here one was from Lithuania and the other was from Poland. They spoke fluent Lithuanian and Polish. They didn't teach their kids any of the language. They changed their name to sound more American and to come here and assimilate because they were proud to be American.
Exactly. Thanks for the call, Larry. All right, we'll have to leave it there for now. Coming up at 7:07, we're going to update the situation in Gaza with the representative from the Consul General's office. It is now 7 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
Billions of dollars are now flowing into the U.S. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump posted that at midnight on Truth Social when new U.S. tariffs on a lot more imports went into effect.
More than 60 countries in the European Union are subject to rates of 10% or higher. The administration believes the tariffs will steer companies to step up investing and manufacturing in the U.S.
Fox's Ginny Casola. Now, tariffs on imports from India will double later this month to 50% as punishment for buying Russian oil. Tomorrow is the deadline for Russia to stop the war in Ukraine or face new economic sanctions. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson reports.
Now, yesterday, Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff visited the Kremlin to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin face-to-face, trying to negotiate an end to its war on Ukraine that has seen casualty figures on the European continent not seen since World War II. President Trump says he hopes to meet Putin as soon as next week.
That's fine. Again, Lucas Tomlinson reports out of Russia this morning say Trump and Putin have agreed to meet in the coming days. We just got another post from the president that he's told the Commerce Department to immediately start working on a new census. He wrote would be highly accurate based on modern facts and figures using the 2024 election results, and people in the U.S. illegally will not be counted. Now to Georgia. Fox's Jonathan Seri at Fort Stewart. The morning after 5 soldiers were shot.
Dan Driscoll, the Army Secretary, has scheduled a news conference on Post this morning to talk about the shooting, but also to recognize the actions of the soldiers who immediately responded to this incident, describing what they did as acts of heroism. Soldiers who witnessed the shooting tackled the gunman and held him until arresting officers arrived.
The accused gunman's a sergeant, Cornelius Radford. The 5 wounded soldiers expected to recover. Other American soldiers in custody. Taylor Lee, stationed at Fort Bliss in Texas, arrested on espionage charges, accused of trying to give Russia classified information on U.S. Abrams tanks. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The 2025 Illinois State Fair kicks off today in Springfield. Director of Illinois Department of Agriculture, Jerry Costello II, and other officials unveiled the treasured butter cow yesterday in the dairy building on the fairgrounds.
We all know that the butter cow is absolutely iconic with the Illinois State Fair. For over 100 years, 800 pounds of butter has been sculpted into this sculpture.
Fair performers include Jake Owen, the Black Crows, Randy Hauser with Night Ranger, Snoop Dogg, Sheryl Crow, the Chainsmokers, and Def Leppard. The fair runs through August 17th. Governor Pritzker is vowing to protect Texas House Democrats who fled to Illinois from Texas authorities. Speaking yesterday at the Illinois State Fairgrounds in Springfield, Pritzker says that Texas Rangers are welcome to visit the state of Illinois, but they can't arrest anyone and take anyone away.
There is no federal law that prevents the legislators from Texas from coming to the state and spending their time here and breaking quorum in the state of Texas.
His comments came hours after a bomb threat at a secure hotel at St. Charles forced the evacuation of 400 guests. The guests included dozens of Texas House Democrats who left their state to stop Republicans from voting to redraw the map that would give them 5 more pickup opportunities ahead of the 2026 midterms. Thing is, Governor Pritzker is now toying with the idea of doing redistricting himself. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
The biggest AM 560 event of the year is coming to Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove on Friday, August 22nd. It's Sean Fest 2025. Join hundreds of fellow AM 560 listeners for the summer's best party. Be a part of the on-location broadcast with Sean Thompson, followed by live music, photo opportunities, food and dessert trucks, and it's all free. Registration is requested at 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. Sponsored in part by Quick Delivery Service and by myvirago.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens, inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 18 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Byrne interchange, about 19 minutes. Outbound is about 20 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 26 minutes. Outbound, 21 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 31 minutes. Outbound is about 19 minutes. On the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Byrne interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound, 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Anthony DeGrotto State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there working to provide service and expertise when it comes to combining your home, auto, and life insurance. DeGrottoSF.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of clouds and sun, possibly bringing a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high will reach 90. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with warm and humid conditions, along with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just a quick note following up on the discussion we were having before the news last hour about Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. Jeannie Ives alerted me to this, as our friend Tony from Downers Grove said. Jeannie Ives is out there talking about this stuff too, but this is not a one or a couple person job. So show up if you can. There's a town hall Delia Ramirez is having on Tuesday, August 19th, 6 p.m., Belmont Cragen Town Hall, and you have to go to her website. This is so interesting, too. You have to go to her website and RSVP to receive an address as to where a town hall is for a member of Congress, ostensibly your member of Congress. Crowd control? You're a public official. You have a town hall, put it everywhere. Come one, come all. No, you have to RSVP. What is a special invitation to go to a town hall and address a member of Congress? Indicative of the attitude. Belmont Cragen Town Hall, Delia Ramirez, August 19th. Go to her website, sign up, and show up. And offer your thoughts on the identitarian rap that she is running as the duly elected representative of Illinois 3, where she is a proud Guatemalan, and also an American. Yeah. Okay. Opportunities. Speaking of opportunities to clarify positions and debunk specious arguments, this was the opportunity that Douglas Murray was afforded when he appeared on Piers Morgan's show. The specious argument is that the problem in Gaza at present is the uncompromising Netanyahu government. Bibi is too strident, and that is preventing a deal with Hamas to exact a ceasefire for the purposes of stopping the killing. That was the predicate. And Douglas Murray, the author and commentator, had this to say in response. It's extended, but it's worth a listen.
But do you not feel that something has to give here, that this has to get resolved somehow, and that the only way to do that is, as with all these situations, you have to eventually compromise in some way? And the problem for Netanyahu is that people think he is completely incapable of offering Hamas any compromise, and therefore there is no deal. So the families of the hostages still there, and hundreds of thousands of protesters in Israel on the street to Tel Aviv right now, they are of the firm belief that it's his own intractable position on this, which is not going to allow any kind of ceasefire to be achievable.
But there again, if I can say so, Piers, it's the same thing, which is the presumption that it's Netanyahu who is uncompromising. We end up with this, again, because Netanyahu is a democratically elected leader, and so it's assumed that some pressure can be brought to bear on him. In my view, it is not Netanyahu who's uncompromising. It's Hamas that's uncompromising. They could have handed back the hostages last October. They could have not done this. I mean, they could have tried to build a state since 2005, when Israel withdrew from the Gaza, and handed the place over to them. Hamas could have used the billions of dollars and pounds and euros that British and European and American taxpayers gave them since 2006. They could have used those billions of dollars to build up Gaza. They could have made a booming in the good sense of the term, Mediterranean paradise. They could have created wealth for their people. But you know what they did? They built down instead of upwards. They built a tunnel network bigger than the London Underground for all of those years, and they squirreled away the money, just like Yasser Arafat did before them, and they made themselves rich. Why was Ismail Haniyeh worth billions of dollars? Why does Khalid Mashal, why is he worth billions of dollars? Why are their children like princelings who live in apartment complexes in Doha? Because they took the money of Americans and Brits and Europeans and they took it for themselves and kept the people of Gaza in immiseration and poverty. There has been since 2005 a complete counterfactual of what could have happened. But the Hamas leadership didn't want that. They have said themselves they want to use Palestinian children and their lives in order to pressurize the world. These are fanatics. They want the death of their own citizens. Their own citizens, in order to get world opinion turned against Israel. Again, how do you negotiate with that? The assumption always is in the West today, because we're so sort of fat and lazy in our expectation that peace is the norm, and that historically it's the norm. We're so full of our own expectations and presumptions that we always think that wars end by some kind of compromise and coming around the table, to use the cliche. They don't. Historically, most wars end because one side wins and one side loses. And one of the reasons, in my view, why there is this endless rounds of war in this region is because the Israelis are never allowed to win, and Hamas, in this case, are always allowed to draw. And I think that that is simply to set up the precursor for the next conflict. If Hamas come out of this with a fighting capability, then there will be another round of this war in a couple of years. So when David Lammy and others say what we need to have is a peace deal, I'd say on what terms? Everybody wants peace except for Hamas and the fanatics. Everybody else wants peace. All of these people in the south, these kibbutzniks and the party goers and others who were murdered on the 7th, all dreamed of peace with their Palestinian neighbors and brothers and sisters. Who stopped that peace being possible? Hamas, from 2005 and again to this very day.
A pretty tight case, I would say, that Douglas Murray makes. Pretty tight case. And the difference this time around, seems to me, and it should be, is that Netanyahu is not asking permission from the West. You know, the Douglas Murray, Israel's not allowed to win. Well, that's sort of self-imposed because they act in a constrained way based on, I wouldn't say international opinion, but opinion in the West, specifically in America. And they shouldn't, for all the underlying reasons that Douglas Murray offered. That's my view. Let's get others. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Itai Baran, Counsel for Political and Commercial Affairs at the Consulate General of Israel to the Midwest. Itai Baran, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
Good morning. Good morning. So what about that? I mean, what about what would your response be in addition to, or perhaps distinguished from Douglas Murray's, as to this idea that Israel is not willing to compromise, Netanyahu is being too intransigent, and this is why we don't have a ceasefire and we're not on a path to peace in the Middle East?
I think I couldn't say it better. You know, on October 7th, Hamas invaded Israel without provocation. They murdered, raped, and tortured civilians, burning families alive. Children were killed in front of their parents. Parents were murdered in front of their children. And 251 hostages were dragged into Gaza. And today, while we're speaking, right now, 50 remain in brutal captivity. Just in this past weekend, I don't know if you saw it or not, but the world saw the starvation and torture of the Israeli hostages, Eviatar David and Ron Poslevsky. They looked like living skeletons. Eviatar was even forced to dig his own grave. Now, Hamas still refuses to release the hostages. Hamas still refuses to lay down its arms. And just like Douglas Murray said, okay, these are the two objectives, and whenever it happens, the war will end.
And rather than providing that sort of perspective on things, even though we're removed from the instigating event, which is the terrorist attack on October 7th, You get stories like this from the Associated Press. I mean, there's a real sickness here in the D.C. press corps and in wide swaths of America, I'm afraid to say, including in a few repositories on the right, which I'm very sorry to say. The Associated Press story, survivors of Israel's pager attack on Hezbollah struggle to recover. We've seen pictures, not widely distributed, but pictures that you're talking about the hostages being starved to death. And the Associated Press is focused on Hezbollah terrorists struggling to recover from a quote-unquote Israeli attack. These are terrorists of a known terrorist organization as so decreed by this State Department and the State Department under Biden, the State Department under Obama, going back as far as I can remember, who terrorize people in Lebanon and Syria and Israel, murder, rape, enslave, all the things that Hamas does. And we're supposed to be moved by their struggle to recover from those who survived a response from Israel to their terrorism.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that this is a representation of, I would say, marginal positions. Because I think that the vast majority of Americans understand and know that Hezbollah and Hamas both are designated terror organizations. Designated, I mean, by the United States of America. Now, look, both Hezbollah and Hamas run a propaganda machine, and we all know that, okay? And unfortunately, some of the global media is sometimes amplifying these lies, not always, by the way, intentionally. Sometimes it's just out of, ignorance or lack of knowledge.
The Associated Press is running a propaganda machine too, and it's difficult to say. I'm Associated Press, and we're supposed to look at this organization. They think of themselves as vaunted news organization, and their content is redistributed in local periodicals throughout the country and so forth. The we didn't know argument, I don't know that provides much absolution.
Sorry?
I said the we don't know argument. Like if we didn't know about this, if Associated Press was, there's no absolution for the Associated Press.
Look, it's a free country. Everyone can say whatever he wants, and I respect it. Okay, I do think that the majority of Americans, they know better. They know how to make their research. They have a lot of other sources that they consume their information from. And I guess that when you know the facts, it looks ridiculous. Like even trying to support the Hezbollah militants is I'm trying to find the right word,
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, this stuff is getting so wild. The Jerusalem Post reporting, an heiress from the German industrial dynasty that profited from producing Zyklon B, the gas used in Nazi death camps, will participate in the next pro-Palestinian flotilla to Gaza. Marlene Engelhorn explaining in an Instagram post, I decided to join the flotilla because I wanted to support the effort to end this genocide. I mean, this is like something out of a Kafka novel.
This is ridiculous, of course, and I believe that everyone who seeks peace and wants to promote stability and prosperity in our region should oppose Hamas and not support it.
Well, okay, so France and the UK essentially threatening the Netanyahu government to effect a ceasefire before the UN meeting in September, or they're going to effectively recognize some yet-to-be-defined Palestinian state. What's the response to that?
It's very simple, in my opinion. Recognizing a Palestinian state after October 7th is just handing reward to Hamas. Hamas senior official, it was, I believe, only a few days ago, Hamas senior official, okay, Ghazi Hamed, admitted that recognition would be the fruits of October 7th. It's his words, okay? So this is rewarding terror, plain and simple. And a Palestinian state must not be born from the ashes of the Israeli massacre. It's very simple, and this is our position.
And the controversy this week, the allegations by retired Green Beret and one-time contractor to a company that worked, I guess, in concert with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Tony Aguilar is his name, and he's making accusations about the aid centers being essentially death traps and designed to be death traps, and that IDF forces are firing on unarmed Palestinians trying to go to one of these aid centers to get food and water and so forth. What's the response to what's happening, what is alleged to be happening at the aid centers at the hands of IDF forces?
Yeah, so look, Israel is enabling massive humanitarian efforts, okay? And I would say that Hamas is looting and weaponizing this aid. Since the start of the war, we have facilitated unprecedented humanitarian aid to Gaza, and you can check. Don't take my words. Just you can always just check the facts. Okay, aid has been delivered on a scale never seen before in a wartime, in my opinion. And Hamas just loots this aid, resells it, and uses the profits to fund terror. So we had, all of us, with our partners, had to find a new mechanism. And the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the GHF, okay, they do their work on a daily basis, faces challenges that, it's not that easy to face. And they have delivered over 106 million meals directly to civilians. Now, Israel has opened private sector channels as well to bring in more foods, baby formula, and hygiene products. Just yesterday, over 300 trucks entered Gaza, and it happens on a daily basis. Again, we are trying to do our best over there, and I believe that there is a success, and we need to make sure that Hamas does not use this mechanism to gain control again in Gaza Strip. What is the
prevailing attitude of the Israeli people as in terms of the prosecution of this war against Hamas to essentially eradicate that terrorist organization after these many years of the back and forth that Douglas Murray described?
Yeah. Look, a very important lesson that October 7th taught us, okay, is that peace cannot be made with those who seek your destruction. Okay, there can be no peace while our loved ones are over there and where Hamas is still in control. Okay, look, Hamas founding charter calls for Israel's annihilation, and I think that we have decided that once and for all, okay, we cannot accept that the Gaza Strip is being ruled by this terror organization, and this is the understanding among the Israelis. Okay, they understand. They want to live in peace. They want to live in prosperity. Okay, and this could not happen with Hamas whatsoever.
Itai Baran is Counsel for Political and Commercial Affairs at the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest. Itai Baran, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers, Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terrace 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terrace 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Here's the truth. The Medicare system is rigged, and you're the one paying the price. Medicare is a maze of misinformation, and it's no accident. The more confused you are, the easier it is for big insurance to steer you into overpriced plans that make them more money. Trump's Department of Justice just sued 3 of the biggest brokers in America for allegedly doing exactly that. It's disgusting, but there is a way to fight back. Trust Chapter. They're honest. They're independent. Chapter's licensed advisors search every single Medicare plan to find what's best for you. Using Chapter could save you tens of thousands of dollars going forward, all from a simple 30-minute phone call. The call is 100% free. No pressure, just real honest help. The average person saves $1,100 working with Chapter. So if you're turning 65 or already on Medicare, make the call today. Dial pound 250 and say Charlie to speak with a trusted Medicare advisor. That's pound 250 and say Charlie.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Croscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Croscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Croscom.
Call Croscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Croscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Croscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Croscom.
Croscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Croscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CroscomPublicAdjusters.com.
AM 560.
The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. First, Stephen Colbert, then the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, then Gayle King, and now Howard Stern. SiriusXM plans to end the Howard Stern Show after 20 years. Not going to give him the money he wants. The investment's no longer worth it, according to a source. Of course, Stern has taken a hard line against not so much Trump, but Trump supporters. This whole idea of you like me, you are good, and if you don't, you're bad. I've been the victim of this. I don't agree with Trump politically. I don't think he should be anywhere near the White House. I don't hate the guy. I hate the people who vote for him. I think they're stupid. I do. I'll be honest with you. I have no respect for you. It's the same playbook. We've seen it before in history. Hitler was perceived as a clown in Germany. He was one of these buffoonish characters. Somehow he won an election, and that was the end of Germany. He dragged them through hell and back. Right, and we're the stupid ones, Howard. Sorry, Stern fans. Coming up at 7:37, John Hindraker of PowerlineBlog.com. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The man accused of killing 2 Israeli embassy staffers in Washington, D.C. earlier this year has been indicted on murder and hate crime charges.
Elias Rodriguez allegedly shot and killed Yaron Liskinsky and Sarah Milgram outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in May. According to an indictment filed Wednesday, Rodriguez yelled "Free Palestine" while shooting the 2 victims. The U.S. Attorney for D.C., Janine Pirro, has said the death penalty could be on the table. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
President Trump is hopeful, but is not confirming an upcoming meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Speaking from the White House, Trump said his U.S. envoy had good talks with Putin this week and was asked if there was a breakthrough.
I don't call it a breakthrough. I mean, we've been working on this a long time. There are thousands of young people dying, mostly soldiers, but also, missiles being hit into Kiev and other places.
Trump then started to say there's a good chance we could be ending, then paused and added, ending the round, ending the road. Trump has grown increasingly frustrated with what he calls Putin's inaction toward any sort of ceasefire deal. He gave Russia until Friday to agree to a ceasefire, or he would place sanctions against them. I'm Mark Mayfield.
This news update is a service of Quick Delivery Service. When you need same-day delivery, when you need the fastest service, when you need last-minute delivery, go to quickdelivery.com and get a quote right now. That's quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
3% better than expected.
More good economic news for the Trump White House.
Critics said that our tariffs would hurt the economy, but the data shows the exact opposite.
But the Fed doesn't seem impressed.
Today, the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged.
I call him too late. He's always too late.
Nor do Trump's critics.
Democrats, of course, really don't want to see the current administration have some success.
What happens next?
Today's GDP number is, in fact, a mirage.
Happens here. AM 560. The Answer.
Okay, this basement is unreal. You've got a bar, theater seats. What is this place?
This is my escape. Forever Remodeling custom designed the whole thing. Not 1 square foot is wasted.
Man, mine still has a treadmill and a folding table.
Their designers asked a ton of questions. I wanted the ultimate game day setup. They delivered. Bar, big screen, sound that shakes the walls.
Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
Join the fight against Charcot-Marie tooth disease at the Cure CMT Golf Challenge. CMT is a genetic disorder causing muscle weakness and sensory loss, impacting daily life. There's no cure yet, but your support can change that. For $5,000, your foursome gets 18 holes at the stunning Merritt Club in Libertyville, Illinois on August 18th, plus lunch and dinner. Check in at 10:30 a.m. Help fund treatments and research. Visit cure-cmt.org to register today. Cure CMT Golf Challenge. Swing for a cure.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens, inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 18 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, about 19 minutes. Outbound is about 20 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 26 minutes. Outbound, 21 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 31 minutes. Outbound is about 19 minutes. On the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Burn interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound, 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Kyle started Blindster in 2010 to make quality, custom-made blinds affordable to everyone. Traditional window covering retailers are expensive. Blindster prices are low and their blinds are guaranteed to fit. Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of clouds and sun, possibly bringing a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high will reach 90. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with warm and humid conditions, along with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I want to stick on this discussion of Israel and Gaza and the domestic politics associated with this because of those on the right. Now, again, they're greatly outnumbered by the left. Proportionality, as we talked with Leo Leibowitz earlier this week, is important. But there are some intemperate elements that characterize themselves as being on the right and who actually are on the right, that are saying things that are just completely untenable, do not square with reality. And they need to be, and people need to be confronted. We've been talking about this. Confronted, intellectually, rhetorically. Of course, there's no promotion of violence here. You need to confront people and the arguments that are being offered, the arguments that people hide behind, people of bad faith or ignorance or both. Well, let me give you a real world example on the topic of anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism. Alan Dershowitz, the Dersh, who lives in Martha's Vineyard, at least has a joint there. This is sort of interesting. He went to a farmer's market in Martha's Vineyard to confront a woman who runs a pierogi stand called Good Pierogi, who wouldn't sell a pierogi to Alan Dershowitz. And he filmed it for the purpose of illustrating what it's like to stand up to people who are ignorant. Don't let them hide behind their ignorance. Use them as an example and, by extension, a warning to others.
In an effort to try to restore community and to ask you to sell me pierogi in the interest of keeping the island together, so we don't have two pierogi stands, one for anti-Zionists and one for people who will sell to anybody. So I'd ask you to please just sell me any one of your products to show that you're prepared to sell to anybody and not allow your anti-Zionism to decide which people will sell. You'll sell to.
Ethan, this man is calling me an anti-Zionist.
This man is a saint. I also offer you this book, which
thank you.
I signed it to you. To Crem, please learn the truth.
Thank you so much, Alan. Thank you so much. I'm very surprised that you're here because of the things that you've been saying about us and the business.
No, just you. Yeah.
Online.
Yeah.
Well, Good Pierogi is our business, and Kremeskevich is me. And I really do not appreciate what you've been sharing in the last week Is it true?
Of course.
You have proof that I am an anti-Semite.
Yeah, you protested the Jewish Culture Festival last year, which had nothing to do with Israel or Zionism. It was just Jewish food, Jewish music, Jewish art, and you protested it, and the rabbi said that was an anti-Semitic act. Do you disagree with that?
I do disagree with that.
You think it's okay to protest Jewish cultural events and not be called an anti-Semite?
Thank you.
Excuse me. My vendor just called me over.
Excuse me, what this man
that
is
a word that
saying.
you used made them
What
feel
this man is saying.
Anti-Semite. That's what they
What this man is saying. Protest Jews and all.
And they just let me know that made them feel uncomfortable. So if there's anything I can do to help complete this transaction,
I offer them this book.
So my pronouns are they, them, and you know about this, that my pronouns are they, them, and you continue to misgender me.
You know, I use them all the time.
No, you just called me him, so please stop
people
lying.
have slips of the tongue. You are they, you are them. I'm happy to use whatever pronouns you want. This is not about that. This is about you protesting a Jewish event.
No.
You did?
No.
Did you protest the Jewish event? You won't answer that question?
Alan, I want to introduce myself.
Hi, I'm Alan.
Hi, I'm Talia.
I'm
a Jewish member of the community who is one of the organizers of the peaceful Jewish-led protest outside of the Jewish Cultural
Festival. You protested the fact that you're Jewish.
This is not a cross-examination. It's a conversation.
Okay.
And it went on from there. But I like it. You know, they don't want to have a conversation or a discussion or a debate. You have to RSVP to go to their town halls, members of Congress, as you just mentioned with respect to Dalia Ramirez. Apparently that was the same case. Got a text from with Sean Caster. You have to RSVP to go to a town hall for a public official. What? Anyway, you need to us need to instigate conversations with people who hide behind their ignorance and the purveyors of their ignorance because they can. I mean, these illustrations are multitudinous. They can go because of their institutional control, generally speaking. Even now, even with Trump in the White House, the institutional control of civic and cultural institutions, they can go without having to confront an argument from someone who believes in free minds and free markets. Someone who believes, in this case, that the state of Israel has the right to exist. They can hide because they have the arts and entertainment and a legacy press corps and urban governments and Fortune 500 companies. Yes, still. You think DEI is over in the Fortune 500? Not. Nope. They can go without having to be held to account, without having to defend the positions they're doing and the things they're doing in service of those positions. So that requires some proactivity on the part of peaceful pluralists. You have to bring the conversation to them like Alan Dershowitz did. Was that so hard? Is it so hard to do what Alan Dershowitz did? Show up to the pierogi stand and say, would you, in the interests of, esprit de corps in Martha's Vineyard, would you sell me a pierogi? And then, the conversation goes wherever it goes. And people disagree with him. Apparently, some Jewish people on Martha's Vineyard disagree with him. No surprise there. So what? Why not confront the way they confront anytime somebody on the center right or Republican politician says or does something that is ill-considered? And the run out to every other Republican with any title, anywhere, who's part of any conservative organization, what do you have to say about this? Well, why is it that you can't do the same? What do you have to say about what Delia Ramirez says? What do you have to say about the things that Sean Casten says? Look here. Is this how you talk? Is this how you think about me and other neighbors in our community who disagree with you? Do you think like Howard Stern thinks that you hate people who vote for Trump? They're stupid. You have no respect for us? Fine. I just let's everybody lay their cards out. Robert Lyle.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Okay, so let's start at the beginning, the historical origins. God told Abraham that him and his descendants would receive all the land over there in Israel, and guess what's included in that land? Gaza. That is, who is the UN or any other nation, England, Canada, you name them, France, and even the United States, if we come against it, it's wrong, because what's going to happen is I think there's going to be a collapse. Here's how you fight a war. My dad was World War II. I'm Vietnam, and I was also a deputy sheriff. When you win a war, you don't let the people back into their area with their guns. That's the first thing they should have said. You want to come back here? You got a gun? You're not coming back. And also, here's what's going to happen in the end, and I'll be the predictor of it. I'm not a prophet. What's going to happen is there's going to be a false peace, because the UN and everybody else is going to realize that the Palestinians don't have a chance of becoming a state again unless they have some kind of false peace. And that's what's going to happen down the road. All these nations, but it's going to be a fake peace, because they're going to wait for the right time again, because that's the way they are.
Well, that's the way.
That's what's coming down the.
Yeah, that's basically the way it's been going since '48, isn't it? Well, that's, and I think that's the hamster wheel that Netanyahu is trying to get off of. Rightly so. Thanks for the call, Robert. But in addition to that, the geopolitics of it, the domestic politics. There are just some things being said about Jewish people and the Israeli government. You know, the accusations of genocide, the accusations of aid centers being purposely set up as death traps to slaughter civilians, that just don't square. And this is the old thing about where we need to police ourselves on the right, or at least have discussions about it, even if they're uncomfortable. Feel free to disagree with me. It doesn't bother me. And this is no sort of absolute defense of everything Bibi Netanyahu does or the Israeli government. Not at all. I would never give any categorical defense to any government. You know why? Because it's comprised of fallible human beings with too much power, almost universally. Of course there are going to be excesses. But, I mean, you know, some of the things that, you know, for example, Tucker Carlson, I mean, I'll just use him as an example. You know, even though I'm inclined to like Tucker and I agree with, you know, some of the things he said and respect a lot of the work he did, particularly at Fox over the years. But on this issue, he's making no sense. Let me just give you one example. Here was Tucker Carlson, you know, talking about this dynamic in the Middle East, which he spent a lot of time talking about, and a lot of time platforming people who don't really seem to know much of what they're talking about, but they share his seeming, I know he says that there isn't, but seeming distaste for the state of Israel or the government or some combination of the two. I'm not calling Tucker Carlson an anti-Semite, but I am calling these sorts of instances out which don't square. First, Tucker Carlson doesn't know what an ally is. Sort of his "what is a woman" moment. What is an ally? When challenged about Israel being our ally, so he doesn't know what it is, but he knows Qatar is one.
America's supporting Israel because it's an ally.
I don't even know what those words mean. I'm just saying my principle
they're
is
an ally, right? I mean, they both.
I don't know what that means to be an ally.
Qatar is like one of our closest allies in the world. The largest American air base in the Middle East is in Qatar. They're a close ally of ours.
I don't know what it means to be an ally, but I know Qatar is one. Huh. Jerry in Milwaukee.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. Like you said, let's lay all our cards on the table here. If you read the Old Testament, God did not negotiate with people who wanted to destroy Christianity. He punished and in some cases eliminated those people. And that's what should be done with Hamas. They should be eliminated, not negotiated with.
Well, thanks for the call, Jerry. You know, I'm not putting BB or any other politician or government in the God position either. But, I mean, just in terms of the very imperfect human options, we've been on this hamster wheel that I've just described, that we were just talking about for these many generations. And what has it gotten? What has it gotten us, meaning America, and what has it got Israel? When you, as Douglas Murray said, you essentially tell Israel, and Israel tells itself that we're not allowed to win, and Hamas is not allowed to formally and permanently lose. Organizations we have decreed terrorist organizations and that are state sponsors who have murdered Americans, who took Americans hostage as well as Israelis on October 7th. What are we doing? What are we saying? Sarah in Glenview.
Yeah, ironically, all these Jew haters are making the perfect case for Zionism. Why we need a Jewish state is a refuge to run to when the rest of the world takes up the welcome mat.
Thanks for the call, Sarah.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly. Each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple. Before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 5-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM 560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98 and the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, targeting ICE, another suspected arson attack against an ICE facility in Washington State. This time, Paul Perez, president of the National Border Patrol Council, joins us at 8:08 to talk border security and ICE operations inside the country. It is now 8:08 on Chicago's Morning Answer, WIND, AM 560 Chicago.
Could this delay tomorrow's deadline for Russia? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's when President Trump said new economic sanctions would be imposed if Russia does not stop the war in Ukraine.
A Kremlin aide indicating a meeting has been agreed to in principle and would be President Trump's first sit-down with Russian President Putin since the start of his second administration. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the president is open to meeting with both Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky, adding great progress was made after this week's meeting between Putin and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff.
That's Fox's Ryan Schmelz. Now, an American soldier is under arrest at Fort Bliss in Texas, charged with espionage. Taylor Lee accused of trying to give Russia classified information on U.S. Abrams tanks. As an Army sergeant is confined in Georgia, accused of shooting 5 U.S. soldiers until others tackled Cornelius Radford.
3 required surgery and 2 were transferred to a local hospital with a level 1 trauma center for additional care. But the Army says all 5 patients are stable and expected to recover.
Fox's Jonathan Seri at Fort Stewart. The mother of a school shooter has committed suicide in Wisconsin. Melissa Rupno, her daughter, Natalie, killed a student and teacher at a Christian school in December, then killed herself.
Rupnow's ex-husband, Jeffrey Rupnow, is charged with allowing Natalie access to the weapons she used in the shooting and told investigators he bought them as a way to connect with her and help her cope following her parents' divorce.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. New U.S. tariffs now in effect on imports from more than 60 countries, ranging from 10 to 41%. President Trump says they have billions of dollars flowing in.
We have a country that is going to be very rich.
In Truth Social Post this morning, the president announced he's calling for a new census immediately based on 2024 election results, and illegal immigrants won't be counted. He also called on Intel CEO to resign immediately the day after Republican Senator Tom Cotton demanded Intel disclose if Lip-Bu-Tan has ties to China's Communist Party. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 77 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A technical issue is blamed for United Airlines grounding all of its flights headed to Chicago and several other major hubs. The Chicago-based airline issued the ground stop last night after a system error caused an outage that disrupted flights across the country. The airline says the underlying issues have been fixed and flights have resumed. No one's hurt after a small plane landed on a golf course in suburban Elgin. Police say a small private aircraft made an emergency landing last night in the Highlands Golf Course due to mechanical issues. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating the incident. Authorities are investigating a bomb threat at a St. Charles hotel where Texas Democrats are staying. Police say hundreds of people were evacuated yesterday from the Q Center following the bomb threat. No explosive devices were found. Texas lawmakers fled to Illinois to stop Republicans from voting to redraw the map that would give them 5 more pickup opportunities ahead of the 2026 midterms. A Chicago man who is charged with shooting and killing 2 Israeli embassy staff members in Washington, D.C. in May is now facing hate crime charges. A grand jury indicted Elias Rodriguez yesterday on additional counts of hate crime charges resulting in death. Rodriguez was originally charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, murder of foreign officials with 2 firearm-related charges. The May 21st shooting happened outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum as both victims were leaving an event. News is a service of Fox Valley Coins. No waiting, no problem, no charge for in-store verbal appraisals. Bring your gold or silver in today. FoxValleyCoins.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stock futures are higher, though tariffs took effect overnight on dozens of countries. The Bank of England this morning lowered its key interest rate by 0.25%. Sales improved at Burger King in the recent quarter. Burger King's parent company, Restaurant Brands, is reporting a better-than-expected quarter. It was helped by promotions, including with the movie How to Train Your Dragon. It also introduced $5 value meals to boost traffic. However, the company was dealing with the costs of increased advertising, and it was paying more for ingredients, including beef and coffee, and its profit was weaker than expected. Claire's, the accessories chain that targets teens, says its stores will remain open during its Chapter 11 bankruptcy reorganization. It's the second filing in about 7 years. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
The biggest AM 560 event of the year is coming to Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove on Friday, August 22nd. It's Sean Fest 2025. Join hundreds of fellow AM 560 listeners for the summer's best party. Be a part of the on-location broadcast with Sean Thompson, followed by live music, photo opportunities, food and dessert trucks, and it's all free. Registration is requested at 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. Sponsored in part by Fox Valley Coins and by MyVirago.com.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and give get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagal, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes, outbound 16 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 31 minutes, outbound about 26 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, about 37 minutes, outbound is 31 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 40 minutes, outbound is about 29 minutes. Traffic is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey is offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of clouds and sun, possibly bringing a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high will reach 90. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with warm and humid conditions, along with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I mentioned the cultural Marxism that infected Fortune 500 has not been anywhere near completely cured by the Trump administration because it's not something that a single president or presidential administration can do, particularly given all of the open field that the left, the cultural Marxists, were granted to pollute the institutions over which they exercise dominion. Here's an example. DHS arrives in Penske trucks at a Home Depot in the MacArthur Park area of L.A. early morning for early morning immigration enforcement. And once the story got out and the pictures of DHS officers arriving in Penske trucks. Penske, come on, Roger. Penske Truck Rental put out a statement. Penske Truck Rental is aware of recent reports and videos regarding a DHS operation in L.A. Penske strictly prohibits the transportation of people in the cargo area of its vehicles under any circumstances. The company was not made aware of trucks would be used in today's operation, did not authorize this. Penske will reach out to DHS to enforce its policy to avoid improper use of its vehicles in the future. Okay. All right. For more on this and other border and border security related matters, please be joined by Paul Perez, president of the National Border Patrol Council. Paul, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You know, it's a small thing, but it's a small thing that are indicative of big things. The pressure that an outfit like Penske still feels from the legacy media and the urban sanctuary city and state politicians to sort of just stay out of it rather than be supportive of law enforcement doing what law enforcement is supposed to do, which is, enforcing the law and advancing the cause of public safety?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a perfect example of how a lot of these companies are still, looking at everything from that with that woke ideology. Everything goes back to, well, we want to stay on the side of not being canceled. And so what do they think? Because DHS used a Penske truck, now people are going to say, hey, Penske doesn't support immigrants, or Penske supports law enforcement. I mean, at the end of the day, our agents are out there doing the work of law enforcement, which is enforcing the laws that Congress has on the books. So they're not doing anything wrong. They're out there trying to protect this country as best they can.
Well, I mean, in defense of Penske, they see how the leftist activist set behaves when they don't get their way, and perhaps they have reason to be concerned. I mean, of course, you saw the vandalism that was unleashed on Tesla drivers and owners because Elon Musk was trying to reduce the size and spend of government. They see what's happening to ICE, the attacks that have been launched against ICE, including most recently on Saturday, the ICE Yakima field office damaged by a rock throw. Parts of the facility compound were set on fire in an act of arson. A member of Congress who's been indicted for assaulting ICE personnel in New Jersey. So, I mean, to provide some modest defense of Penske, they don't want their stuff vandalized and their people hurt, because that's the way these bedwetters on the left behave when they don't get their way.
So where is Penske and where are the others when we discover, illegal immigrants crammed in the back of 18-wheelers and in the back of trucks like Penske and others? Where are they when they're, these people are crammed in there and we're catching them at checkpoints, or in places like San Antonio where, they've taken a 2-hour journey in sweltering heat, and we rescue them. Where are they then? They didn't put out any messages before. Where are the rental car companies when, smugglers are renting vehicles to drop people off and do all these other horrendous things, taking advantage of them? That's the point I'm making is, look, you can't have it one way. If you're going to stand up and say, I don't appreciate law enforcement using my vehicle, then you should say, I don't appreciate criminals using our vehicles the same way.
Well, one would think, although, the cartels and human traffickers less likely to be concerned about what Roger Penske's outfit has to say.
Exactly. And so, the left and their dangerous rhetoric and the way they act, that's the reason that our agents are having these increased assaults, again, in Los Angeles, where we've been for a while. And look, we've been there, and they continue to make apprehensions. They continue to make arrests. That just shows you that everything that we've been saying, everything that President Trump has been saying about millions of people being allowed into the country, unvetted, criminal aliens all over the country, that's just Los Angeles. We're operating in other cities across the country, but Los Angeles, we keep getting apprehensions because there are so many illegal aliens out there in that area, because it's a sanctuary city and a sanctuary state.
Well, we have one of those here in Illinois called Chicago. You're familiar with Tren de Aragua. There's an ICE Tren de Aragua, another one, operation just recently here. And, we were, slightly behind New York and L.A. in the number of people that have been welcomed into this country, who were welcomed into this country illegally, who've been welcomed into Chicago and Illinois and underwritten by taxpayers in both the city and the state. This is, just to refresh your recollection, this is the posture of both our mayor and our governor. Brandon Johnson is the mayor. He just has a more pointed way of saying the same thing that J.B. Pritzker is also operating under. Same theory.
Again, it's unconscionable at a time in which so many working people and poor people need government to show up for them. that this administration, the Trump administration, has caused so much consternation and division. Look, we are a welcoming city ordinance. Our local police department will not ever cooperate with ICE.
What do you say, Paul?
He's putting the safety of his actual constituents, because remember, these illegal aliens, they're not constituents, but he's putting the safety and security of his constituents, at risk by saying we are going to protect those people that are illegally in this country over the safety and security of our constituents. And, in Chicago, just like other cities, there's been major crimes committed by illegal aliens, a lot that we haven't even heard of yet because we haven't apprehended these people. But every day, President Trump is proven right when we put the criminal records of those we're arresting up on TV and we show the American public there are some bad actors in this country that we're trying to get rid of. And J.B. Pritzker and those others in the sanctuary cities, they're supporting the illegal aliens over their constituents.
What is the situation at the border? We've, seen the reports on the data of illegal crossings down to historic lows, and so in terms of your perspective on what has happened, what the situation was previously, and what has happened in the first 7 months of the Trump administration.
Within 1 month of President Trump taking office, we secured the border at in my 28-year career, this is the most secure the border's ever been. And so it didn't even take the 6-7 months that we've had already. It took less than a month. As a matter of fact, as soon as he was elected, there were already changes being made by the smugglers, by those cartel operatives, because they knew that President Trump was serious about how he's going to shut down the border. And it's the most secure that it's ever been in the history of this country. And it didn't take any laws. It took just policies instituted by a president who really wanted to secure the country, and we've done it.
Right. I mean, it calls to mind what he said in his address to the joint session of Congress back in the spring, which is we didn't really need a new policy. We just needed a new president. We know what to do. And the professionals in border security and in ICE and in national, these other national security related agencies, they know what to do. We just need a president that's going to provide the leadership to let them do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, the leadership and the support. And he put a great team in place with Secretary Noem and Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, Pam Bondi, Chief Banks, Commissioner Scott. He put the right people in the right place that have the expertise, that have the knowledge, and really wanted to secure the country. And they've done that. And it's the best it's ever been. He left Joe Biden a blueprint, and Joe Biden on day one disregarded it all and created the chaos that we had at the border that President Trump came and fixed.
The rhetoric that is mainly directed at ICE, because they're in big cities and smaller communities doing these operations with the priority to remove public safety threats. The rhetoric from the left, the defund police, open the border left, where they are referred to as secret police. They're accused of kidnapping. That's the word that's used: kidnapping, disappearing people. They're making comparisons to, secret police death squads in dictatorships in Central and South America of yore. Does that even sort of enter into a conversation or a concern within the law enforcement community about their daily jobs, about what they do and how they do it?
Sure. Look, anybody in law enforcement recognizes the increased risk to themselves. But what we don't appreciate and what we don't like is when they put the safety and security of our families at risk because of their dangerous rhetoric and because of the doxing. You said it earlier, the way the left acts when they don't get what they want. they want to attack. They want to create chaos. They want to create instability. And that's what concerns us most. And so, the tactics that we're using, including covering up our faces when we're out there because of the dangerous rhetoric by the left and because of their tactics and actions, it makes it more difficult, but it's not going to stop us from doing the job that we signed up to do. Our agents really, really care about securing America, and they're going to continue doing everything that they signed up to do, that this president is allowing us to do, because they want to secure America.
And with respect to these congresswomen who have made a big spectacle of trying to get into ICE facilities to would exercise their oversight responsibilities, at least that's the predicate. Do you believe ICE is being sufficiently transparent? I mean, if a congressperson wants to get access to an ICE facility, it seems to me that's fine. You can have access to it. You can see what we're doing because we have nothing to hide. And, probably as much transparency as possible would give quick, would expose very quickly the lies about disappearing and kidnapping and all of the rhetoric that's being directed their way.
Yeah, they know the right way to do it, but it's political theater, because just like they selectively edit the videos that are showing our ICE and Border Patrol officers and agents out there taking people into custody, they only show selectively edited videos. They don't show the initial encounter. They don't show the person trying to get away. They don't show any of that. They just show the ending of the video, and they make it look as if we're just jumping out and taking people into custody without talking to them or making sure that they are illegal aliens. But that's exactly what you've come to expect from the Democrats, including a lot of those members of Congress who are just there for the political theater. They know the right way to get into a facility. They know exactly the process of how to do it, and they're not going to be denied if they do it the right way. But when they show up and with camera in tow, they're just looking for political theater.
Paul Perez is the president of the National Border Patrol Council. Paul, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
And Paul Perez joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus.
I believe in aliens, ghosts, and UFOs, but I don't believe you.
Huh?
I'm convinced the Earth is flat and the moon landing was faked.
Okay.
But when you say Hasselus Mattress don't have no employees, well, that's just crazy talk.
It's true. Hasselus Mattress showrooms are employee-free. Give our mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy.
Okay, sure. You probably think birds are real, too.
All I know is that our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393. Free next-day delivery, too.
Do these mattresses come from Area 51?
We're talking big names like Sealy Posturepedic and Beautyrest.
And who's supporting your operation? The Illuminati?
If you need support, through Monday, get a free adjustable base with any new mattress.
That's what the lizard people told you to say.
Save on Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and more, and get a free adjustable base through Monday at Hasselus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at hasselus.com.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just 1 light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family owned, integrity since 1981.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
My friend Paula just remodeled her kitchen. I feel bad. It's so bland.
Yeah. Everyone's using the same templated designs these days or just refacing cabinets.
Let's check out Forever Remodeling. They do full and custom kitchen remodels from the ground up, just for us.
It'd be nice to have a kitchen that's truly ours.
Exactly.
Don't get the same kitchen design as everyone else. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
AM 560.
The answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Old habits die hard. Oh, Canada. When you're a lockdown politician, a central planner, lockdowns, prohibitions are the order of the day for out of an abundance of caution. Nova Scotians are banned from entering the woods until the provincial crown says otherwise. Camping and campgrounds still permitted, but trail systems through the woods are off limits under the new rules that are in place until October 15th or until weather conditions improve. The fine for violating the ban is $25,000. So if you walk, and this is, of course, in the interest of, out of an abundance of caution, preventing brush fires that then contribute to Chicago's air quality being the worst in the world, as it was so decreed last week. $25,000, even so you go for a walk on a trail in the woods in Nova Scotia, without any flammable products, and you still could be fined $25,000. Speaking of which, I don't know how they're going to lock down wildlife, but that reportedly was the cause of the 100-acre brush fire on the other side of Canada in British Columbia. It's fascinating. The report is an osprey caught a fish, flying away with a fish too heavy, dropped the fish, which hit power lines, sparking this brush fire in British Columbia. So I don't know how you're going to lock down the wildlife or how you're going to figure out a way to blame either Trump or global warming or some combination of the two. But, there are those aspects, too, that are difficult to predict and difficult to control, even for central planners up in strange Brewland. Coming up at 8:38, we are joined by our friend Tom Baker again, retired FBI special agent, legal attaché, author of The Fall of the FBI. We'll talk about Russiagate. We'll talk about the Epstein files. We'll talk about the Secret Service. We'll talk about it all with Thomas Baker at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 77 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump's sweeping tariffs are now in effect. Import taxes will reach levels not seen in the country in almost 100 years, with over 60 countries in the European Union facing rates of 15% or more. A wide variety of products will be hit, ranging from appliances, cars, food, and furniture. United Airlines has resumed flights after resolving a tech issue that led to a ground stop for all of its flights headed to Chicago and several other major hubs Wednesday evening. The airline confirmed a system error caused an outage that disrupted flights across the country. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said that he had been briefed on the matter. UCLA says the Trump administration has suspended $584 million in grants from the school.
The chancellor of the school says that's nearly double the amount that was previously expected. UCLA is the first public university to have federal grants frozen over allegations of civil rights violations related to anti-Semitism. Trump has withheld federal funding over similar allegations against several Ivy League colleges. UCLA just reached a $6 million settlement with 3 Jewish students and a Jewish professor for allegedly allowing pro-Palestinian protesters in 2024 to block their access to the campus. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Catch more money with leading economist Steve Moore.
I'm excited about America. I think things are going really well. I think we've turned a corner here. I think Biden economics is well behind us now. This is a miracle what's going on here. If anything, it's better than I thought it would be. So many good things can happen in the economy. Low inflation, low unemployment rate, consumer confidence up, business confidence up. All of the indicators are pointing north right now.
It's More Money, Saturday at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Join the fight against Charcot-Marie tooth disease at the Cure CMT Golf Challenge. CMT is a genetic disorder causing muscle weakness and sensory loss, impacting daily life. There's no cure yet, but your support can change that. For $5,000, your foursome gets 18 holes at the stunning Merritt Club in Libertyville, Illinois on August 18th, plus lunch and dinner. Check in at 10:30 a.m. Help fund treatments and research. Visit cure-cmt.org to register today. Cure CMT Golf Challenge. Swing for a cure.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 19 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burton Interchange, about 34 minutes. Outbound is 29 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 38 minutes. Outbound, 31 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 40 minutes. Outbound is 30 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 21 minutes. Outbound is 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Discover. Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts you're stuck in the past based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be hot with a mix of clouds and sun, possibly bringing a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high will reach 90. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with warm and humid conditions, along with a chance of a thunderstorm. The low will be 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Trump's press avail at the White House yesterday. Reporter asked about this story that was circulating that J.D. Vance was convening a select group to discuss how to deal with the Epstein files, and the president was queried about that. He then turned it over to J.D. Vance, and this is what the two had to say side by side.
I saw a report today, and it's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats because we've had the most successful 6 months in the history of our country, and that's just a way of trying to divert attention to something that's total bullshit. Okay?
On that subject.
Okay. Well, I mean, that is the position that investigative journalist Lee Smith took in his piece I mentioned earlier this week, that that Epstein Gate is Russiagate 2.0. Let me just read you his concluding paragraphs on this. I mean, he addresses the suggestion made by Tucker Carlson and others that Epstein was potentially a Mossad agent and all that stuff. But let me just get to the crux of this. No surprise. It is no surprise the FBI investigation into Hillary Clinton's mishandling of classified information concluded she did nothing wrong, even though the FBI had evidence that her private server was likely hacked by the Russians. What would later shock Trump and his supporters was the discovery that at the exact same time the director of the FBI cleared her, the FBI also set in motion an operation to frame the Republican candidate for stealing and leaking her emails by tying him to Russia. The only evidence for the allegation that he was compromised by Moscow, an allegation the FBI used to spy on the Trump campaign, was fabricated by Clinton contractors. Right, we know this, but it's good to refresh our recollection of what the summary understanding should be. Lee Smith goes on, for a quarter century, the FBI has been protecting the Clintons. That's a statement. The idea that this same law enforcement agency exposed the Clintons and some of their most prominent donors in Epstein's circle, such as Bill Gates and Leslie Wexner, to a blackmail operation run by a foreign intelligence service, let alone Israel's, is untethered from reality. The idea that Trump has buried the Epstein story and is thereby protecting the individuals and institutions that sought to ruin him is deranged. Well, okay. I mean, that's one argument, but if that is true, if what Lee Smith is arguing, which it may be, then it would have been helpful if Trump and/or Bondi and/or Trump and Bondi and Cash laid this all out rather than issuing this unsigned memo from the DOJ saying this is all there is and that's all we have to say about it. We're moving on. And just making, and then the president just sort of making generic characterizations of it as a hoax. After all the run-up, some of it, a significant amount of it, instigated by Trump and Cash and Bongino and Bondi, that wasn't the way to handle it. if there's no there, as Lee Smith argues. But I mean, so there's so much to unpack. That's part of it. And the other piece of it, though, which is I would love a lot more detail on, and maybe Cash and Bongino can get to providing some of the evidentiary support for the statement Lee Smith makes, which is for a quarter of a century, the FBI has been protecting the Clintons. It wasn't just Hillary and her server. Hillary and her manufactured bogus Russian collusion Steele dossier documents. For more on this, please be joined by Thomas Baker, retired FBI special agent and legal attaché, author of The Fall of the FBI, How a Once Great Agency Became a Threat to Democracy. Thomas Baker, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you this morning, Don.
How a once great agency became a threat to democracy. I think we're trying to pinpoint when exactly that moment occurred, because it seems to be going further and further back in time with the more information that's revealed.
Well, you're right. And in the book, that's bothered me and bothered a lot of other people who had been in the FBI to try. When did it go off track? And I basically concluded that it's a cultural change in the mindset, changing from a law enforcement agency to an intelligence agency, or as Mueller and then Comey like to call it, an intelligence-driven agency. And I think the one precise moment, was way back on the Saturday, September 15th, right after the September 11th attacks, when Mueller, and I recount this in the book, and Mueller's told me this personally and told other people this numerous times, when he was called to Camp David by President George W. Bush, he thought to give a report on the attack. Now, in the 3.5 days between the attack on Tuesday, September 11th, and that Saturday morning meeting at Camp David, where President George W. Bush was hunkered down with Condoleezza Rice and all his other top advisors, Mueller stood up and gave the FBI report. And he had a reason to be proud, because in 3.5 days, the FBI had done what it does best: investigate. And they had found out who all the 19 hijackers were, their travel pattern, their connections, their financing, all their rental cars they had used, everything about them, and all their connections going back to al-Qaeda. Well, when he was done with this presentation, expecting praise or thanks, instead, President George W. Bush just dismissed him and said, "I don't care about that. I just want to know how you're going to prevent the next one." Later that morning, George Tenet, the head of the CIA, gave a presentation looking forward to some proactive things he was contemplating. And when he was finished, according to many people there, George W. Bush said, "That's great." And he turned and looked at Mueller and he said, "That's what I want to hear." Mueller has said on numerous occasions that after that meeting, he was bound and determined to change the culture of the FBI, to do away with its law enforcement mindset and get it to think like an intelligence agency. Now, that might have seemed justified at the time, but it had unintended consequences. A law enforcement agency deals in facts. An intelligence agency deals in estimates. And that's where I think it began to get off the track under Mueller and then under Comey, certainly. And it became very freewheeling, and we saw that in the Russian collusion investigation.
Oh, that's really interesting. That's that watershed moment that you're describing. I mean, that does make some sense. So then, what happened to Mueller over the intervening 15 years, up until the point that he headed this Russiagate investigation and really sort of compromised himself and then sort of pathetically exposed himself as maybe not being up for the job in the first place?
Yeah, well, yes, there's several steps in there. You're absolutely right. First of all, Obama really liked him, and Obama kept him on. There was a statute, a law had been passed, so we would never have another J. Edgar Hoover in charge forever and ever, limiting the FBI's director appointment to 10 years. Obama went to Congress and got them to change it and got Mueller an extra 2 years. So he was director for 12 years, longer than anybody else except for J. Edgar Hoover. That was the first thing. Then he was brought back in to run the to be special counsel, run the investigation of the Russian collusion after Trump had fired Comey. That's in May in 2017. And then that went on and on and on. Well, it was a lot of his staffers that really ran that. We now know. Because when he finally made his one appearance afterwards before a congressional committee, it was clear the man, and this happens to men and women as they get very older, he had clearly lost his marbles. I mean, that's colloquial, but that's what happened.
And he allegedly, I mean, the reporting is that because he just got subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee, he allegedly is in a memory care facility at present?
I believe so, and we would have known, and his wife and his family should have done everything they can to keep him, for his own personal embarrassment, to keep him from testifying. That one time when he got up there and he said he never heard of some of the things that were just major components of the Russian collusion hoax, such as the Steele dossier, and then he denied he ever heard of the law firm that Hillary Clinton used. I mean, he just was fumbling. It was pathetic.
Well, so was he set up to be the patsy there and to let the partisan killers like Andrew Weissman run the show for the purpose of getting their target?
Most people think Weissman was the key guy.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. But the truth of the matter is, and this should not be lost sight of, in spite of all of that, the Mueller report concluded that there was no conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russians. They concluded that. They also did say that the Russians attempted to interfere. Now, they attempted to interfere, not necessarily, now this is my interpretation, not necessarily to help Trump, but to discredit our whole democratic process. And they've done that on numerous occasions in the past and since then. The Russians believed, and this is clear in the Durham report, the Russians believed, as did most everybody else, that Hillary Clinton would be the winner. So they knew they were facing Hillary as the next president, and they wanted to get some dirt and mud on her. And that's what it was aimed at, discrediting her and discrediting our electoral process.
Yeah, but what was well, I get that, but what was the aim of Mueller and the team after that didn't come to pass, clearly, and Trump was in office? Was it, even with their sort of, with their no evidence of collusion, they still gave enough wiggle room for professional prevaricators like Adam Schiff to go out there and say, well, that's not what they said, and we parsed over words for months and months on end, and it had already been emblazoned upon the minds of half of America that Trump was a Russian asset of Putin and so forth. So what was their aim? They knew they didn't have anything. They know they couldn't sustain an impeachment, or at least an impeachment and a conviction. They knew they couldn't sustain criminal charges, so they just wanted to extend this as long as they could, to hamstring it as long as they could, to bloody him up as much as they could. Was that it?
Well, Don, you have a lot of that recitation there. You have a lot of that correct. That's just about what did happen, and Mueller just couldn't bring himself to totally exonerate, in his own words, Trump, or the Trump campaign, as they were calling it. And Bill Barr, the Attorney General at the time, and the Deputy Attorney General, they called Mueller in. They called him up and they said, "What is this? Why? If you say there's nothing to say that there was collusion, because they said there was no collusion, but then they wouldn't say that there was no obstruction on Trump's
right."
And Barr challenged him on that, and he just wouldn't say that, but he didn't find any evidence of it. And Barr made a point of saying this is just not the way we do business in the DOJ traditionally. And so you have it right. I mean, it's a quandary, but already, and it was very unlike Mueller. Mueller was a very hands-on person when he was FBI director, and apparently when he was a U.S. attorney in two different posts. Of people who dealt with him, and I know one or two, said he was very hands-on. I mean, this whole thing at the end of the Mueller report is just not his usual behavior. That's to contrast with Comey, who everybody who dealt with him describes him as being very hands-off, that he just floated above everything. Mueller traditionally had his hands on everything, and that's why Bill Barr was so disappointed in him.
The statement that Lee Smith made in that article I referenced at the outset, that the FBI has been protecting the Clintons for 25 years. What's your reaction to that statement?
Well, it's a little bit of hyperbole, but the FBI does have a long history with the Clintons. And you go back to a director who I know personally and greatly admire, Louis Freeh. His whole time as director, he made a point of staying away from Clinton because the whole time he was director, President Bill Clinton was under investigation for 2 or 3 different things, one after the other. Most of them are very well known now. And Louis Freeh made it a point to keep his distance from him, and even the Attorney General at the time, Janet Reno, she also made it a point, and this is not as well known, to keep her distance from Clinton. She didn't even answer his phone calls, and he's the President of the United States, because she didn't want to pick up the phone and be told she was fired. And that's the truth. So, yeah, there's a long history there, but it's not always. And the New York office of the FBI was deeply involved in the investigation of the Clinton emails, and were very disappointed with the soft approach that Comey was taking, and very upset with Comey's quote-unquote exoneration of Hillary at one point.
What is your take on the Epstein files, and the client list that does or does not exist? You obviously saw this week the House Oversight Committee issued subpoenas related to Epstein files for both Clintons, for Merrick Garland, for Jim Comey, for Bill Barr, for Alberto Gonzales, Jeff Sessions, Bob Mueller. I don't know about that. Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Attorney General Eric Holder. So like the last 4 or 5 attorneys general, as well as the Clintons and the former FBI director. What do you think that will produce? What do you think about the handling of the Epstein case and how this is shaking out?
Well, as you said in your opening, the handling of it initially, it was quite frankly and sadly mishandled by a number of people. You went through them in the current administration early on. They raised the expectations of the public, and now that it's being looked at the old cases, and of course there's several cases. There's the Florida case that he was pled guilty on and got a light sentence. Mm-hmm. Then there's the New York investigation that was underway, and then there's quite an extensive investigation of his death. And Bill Barr was Attorney General then, and Bill Barr was very upset with the Federal Bureau of Prisons, which comes directly under him, that his death was allowed to happen. And of course, it led to speculation. Was he murdered? Did he commit suicide? He should have never been allowed to commit suicide. And that was Barr's conclusion. But now there's so much paper was created in those 3 investigations. And I have no doubt that dozens of people, hundreds, perhaps even 1,000 people were interviewed overall, almost all of whom were probably innocent. And it's the Department of Justice just can't go out and make all this public and besmirch a lot of people who just happen to have done financial dealings with Epstein or been at a party at Palm Beach or somewhere else with 1,000 other people with Epstein. They've put themselves in a terrible position. And this negotiating with this quite despicable woman, Maxwell, is really going nowhere because Maxwell still hasn't admitted her own guilt. So you can't make a deal or get somebody to testify against others, which is obviously what the aim of interviewing Maxwell was, if she won't admit her own guilt. So it's a terribly difficult corner they've painted themselves into.
Yeah, but I still, just from a very basic perspective, I just don't really understand if the reporting was accurate that there were estimates between 200 and 500 girls that were victimized. How and you have obviously victims who have come forward, including testifying at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. I don't understand how you can't wrap this up. All these victims, identifying individuals. There had to be more than just Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. and why this is so mysterious. I don't understand how the pieces cannot be put together if all of those raw materials that have been reported are true.
Well, some of the pieces can be put together, and maybe should be, and maybe this is where the Congress will have a role, because they operate under a different set of rules and guidelines than the DOJ. Now, just step back for a second, and you may remember the big scandal not too many years ago with the gymnast being abused by the Dr. NASA in Michigan.
Right. Yeah, that was mishandled, right.
And it was terribly mishandled. And ultimately, the Senate had hearings on it, and the gymnast very bravely, and one or two of them very well-known athletes now, came forward and testified in great detail about this. But that was voluntary on their part. These 200 women or young women or girls at the time who allegedly have been abused by Maxwell and Epstein and their buddies, you don't want to, as a society, put them through more hell. But I'm not sure, but it's quite likely, just like the gymnast, there's probably a dozen or a half dozen of them who'd be willing to come forward at this point and speak to Congress.
Yeah, who probably want to affect some justice, right?
So that may happen. That may happen. But it, as we both agree, it was mishandled initially, and the guy was a terrible guy. Maxwell's a terrible person herself.
Well, yeah.
So
yeah.
It's a terrible situation. But I think what is more hopeful is on the first issue we were talking about in this interview, is the investigation of Comey and Brennan. I think that will get a lot of information out there, at least for the historians, if not for conviction.
Quickly before we let you go, that's what everybody wants to know. You've got some perspective on this. Do you think Comey is ultimately criminally prosecuted?
I don't know. If the things they could get him with specificity on might be if there were false statements or leaking. There was a lot leaked at different points, and since then, within the statute of limitations, there's been leaks to the press. Those are possibilities. But I think it's important to get the facts out there, which they can through a grand jury. They can, have what they call a talking indictment that lays out the whole story, because it's important for historians, because I think that's where we're at now, to get this correct on the historical record that Comey and Brennan were reckless partisans who led this country into this turmoil, and get the record corrected. I think that's the best we can hope for here.
Thomas Baker, retired FBI special agent and legal attaché, author of The Fall of the FBI, How a Once Great Agency Became a Threat to Democracy. Thomas Baker, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And Thomas Baker joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line. Thank you all for joining us on this edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. I'm off tomorrow, but I'll be back on Monday, so have a good weekend, all. It is now 9 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It's the day after the shooting at Fort Stewart in Georgia. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We do not want something like this to ever happen again on an Army base. And so if there are things we can do to improve